Codie Sanchez. Welcome back to the Big Deal podcast. This week, we have the performance coach to high performers. He is one of the top health and fitness coach in the country. For 20 years, he's been turning people who maybe have a lot of wealth, but don't have the right kind of health completely around, to the fact that he has had his team help people lose 100,000 pounds. His name's Dan Go. We get into a bunch of reasons that will shock you about why you aren't losing weight, how to be healthy, how your brain is performing if you aren't very healthy, and why doing this one hack might be the way to stop those hunger pains. Can't wait to get into this conversation with Dan Go. And I have something for all of you business owners. It is a grading system to see if your business could be sold for the max dollar right now, or if you are actually operating in an F business. We use this proprietary quiz that we honed with thousands of owners to help you figure out where your business is at. Go to the link in bio to learn about Dominium and to get access to your free grade. And you can tell me in the comments what grade your business has. So this line I was obsessed with the other week on your Twitter. It totally changed my perspective on how to think about health. And the line was this: "I'd die for my family," in quotes. Okay. Would you lift 3 times a week, eat a nutrient-dense diet, fix your sleep habits, walk 10,000 steps, and stop drinking so much alcohol for them? Tell me about that quote.
Dying to me is easy. Living is way much harder. It takes way more effort. And I remember talking to an entrepreneur about this, and he was like, "Oh yeah, man, like every parent would say, is like, I would die for my family." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Let's juxtapose this. So let's just say like your daughter is on the other side of a bridge, and you're on the other side, and the bridge is going to explode unless you lift 3 times a week, unless you do the things that we're asking to do nutrition-wise, unless you fix your sleep, and also give up alcohol. Are you willing to do this?" He's like, "Do I have to do the alcohol bit?" And I'm just like, "Dude, your daughter's on the other side." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And the thing to me is just the fact that it is so easy to say, "Oh yeah, I'll die for this, I'll die for that." But the effort of living, the effort of actually going to the gym 3 times a week, the effort of controlling the foods that go into your mouth, the effort of actually putting yourself to sleep every single day for 8 hours a day, that is much harder. That is way more effort than just saying I'm willing to take a bullet for someone. So I feel like a lot of people would be willing to die, but not a lot of people would be willing to live for their kids.
It's actually fascinating. When did you first notice that?
I noticed that when my first daughter came out. And when my first daughter came out, I was like, I am willing to do everything for you. And I am willing to run through walls. I'm willing to build whatever you want me to build. I'm willing to do everything. And something that not a lot of people know is that I had my first kid when I was like 40 years old. That's old in like traditional sense. And for me, it was just like, okay, well, I'm 40 years old. I'm having my first kid. I want to be here as long as I can be for her. And that means I want to live till like I'm 110, 120, 130, if that is at all possible. I want to be there as long as I can. So I have to look at myself. I have to look at my own health and be like, okay, so what am I doing? This is the reason why I'm getting more into longevity. This is the reason why I'm doing my blood work 6 months or every 6 months. This is the reason why I'm doing DEXA scans. It's because I want to make sure that I am lining myself as much as I can to be there as long as possible for her.
Yeah. It's fascinating though, because it's so damn hard. Like, I don't know what the difference is. Why do you think that we are so willing to say, yeah, you could shoot me and that would be okay, but I won't make these life changes? Is it just because it's instant and painful as opposed to continuous and sort of low grade pain?
Absolutely. I do think that I say this a lot, where getting in shape in general is a subtle and slow compounding effect of feeling more positive. I remember you actually posted this thing where you said, okay, well, I quit alcohol for a month. I ate protein for a month. I did all this stuff for a month. I don't feel any different. What gives? And there's another guy who actually came out with almost like copied you word for word. He got like 100,000 likes. And the thing is that you aren't going to feel the differences within the month. It's almost like saying, okay, well, I tried everything I could to build a business for 30 days. It didn't work out. I don't think this is for me, guys. Like, I don't think this is for me.
Shit.
Yeah,
Okay, that tracks.
yeah. And then it's just like, and for me, it's like this instant gratification that people expect, especially when they're trying to get in shape.
Yep.
They want things to be fast. They want things to be as instant as humanly possible. But the thing that we know about getting in shape and the thing that we know about business is that it's about the incremental improvements. And these incremental improvements are not necessarily things that you're going to see instantaneously. But if you have enough awareness over 90 days, over 6 months, and you actually track this stuff, you're going to see, oh, crap, I actually made pretty good decisions over 90 days. I actually was able to control my emotions over 90 days. I was able to wake up out of bed and actually like feel like I wanted to crush the day after 90 days. It takes a little bit more. And I remember I was talking to a client. We helped him drop 20 pounds, do all this kind of stuff. And then I asked him after 90 days, I was just like, okay, so tell me what's happening in your life. What's going on? Oh, dude, we just like crushed our record. We had a record breaking month. I'm having like the best time with my wife. Like we're doing it, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, do you understand that this is a reflection of like how you feel because you've dropped 20 pounds of fat off of your body? You're not carrying around this weight vest on you. And then he was just like, I never really thought about it like that. And no one does. And even it goes the other way as well. Where getting out of shape is a slow burn. Oh gosh. And then you wake up one day, you actually like eat the junk food, you binge eat at night, or you drink enough times and it becomes a habit. And then that becomes your new normal. And you're like, oh, cool, this is what life is like. It goes both ways. And people don't realize it until they have to go through it long enough.
It's true. The other quote that I love that you have is that the American diet was meant to put you in an American hospital for American health care so you can buy American pharma drugs.
Yes. The system sucks. And this is not just, I'm from Canada and we have both the same system. We have free healthcare. Our healthcare is not even free. Like we have to wait maybe 6 months to get an MRI. I would almost like rather have private healthcare in that sense because American hospitals, they want to get your money, like they want it. And the thing that we're seeing right now with Maha and the things that we're seeing with RFK Jr. coming into play is the fact that it almost seems like a conspiracy, but it's not.
Yeah.
Food companies make foods that make you more addicted to the foods that you're eating. Pharma companies come in and they say, oh, cool, we have this thing that's going to help you mask the system, or mask the symptom. But what's going to happen is that you're going to have to take this for the rest of your life so you don't have to feel it. And the unfortunate thing is that everyone wants that. Most people want that. I remember I was talking to one of my sister-in-law. She has her parents. Her parents are frail as you know what. And I was just like, hey, I could give her like a workout program. I can help them go on their way. And she told me, it's like, no, she doesn't want to do that. Give her the pill. Just give me the pill. Make it go away. And then that's the mentality that a lot of people have. And unfortunately, what's going to happen is that there's going to come this precipice where you're going to have to take a medication if you've not taken care of your body. And then that's going to be a decision. Am I going to change my lifestyle or am I willing to take medications for the rest of my life? And unfortunately, for the vast majority of people, they're like, all right, give me the medication, give me the pill.
Yeah. What's fascinating is all the stuff going on with Maha. I know you and I are both friends with a bunch of the same people. I think like they really took some bullets for us out there. Like Callie Means, some of the stuff that he's had to deal with is wild. But what I like about the stuff that you talk about is that you make it sound so simple. So like you have lots of things that you talk about from your, I don't know, how long have you been in fitness now? 18, 20 years?
20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
So you've basically said in my 20 years of fitness, I can distill health down to these few things. Yeah. What are they?
This is going to be one that not a lot of people will actually see as the most important thing, which is getting your data, tracking your data. I was having this conversation with one of my clients and I was like, he's an entrepreneur like yourself. I was like, how often do you check your revenue? How often do you check your sales? Every day, bro, every day. Okay, cool. When's the last time that you stepped on the scale? And then like complete silence. And I'm just like, dude, how are you tracking the metrics that matter to you? And you're not even stepping on the scale and you're saying health is a priority. These two things don't make sense. So for me, you cannot improve what cannot be measured. So the first thing for me is going to be setting up some sort of dashboard. You have your surface level numbers, which are going to be your weight, your inches, your pictures. Then you have your deeper numbers, which are going to be your blood work. It's going to be your DEXA scans. It's going to be, for a guy, it's going to be your testosterone levels. And what we want to do is we want to get this dashboard to inform us whether or not we're on the right track or whether or not we're off track, just like a business.
Yeah.
I actually say there's so much correlation between a business and a body. So another thing is just, and this is not with the data thing, but I always ask entrepreneurs, okay, when a problem happens in your business, fire happens, what is your first thing that you're going to do? All right, we're going to find what the cause is. We're gonna figure out who's in charge of this, and we're gonna fix the cause right at the root. Okay, cool. Okay, so if you step on a scale and you're 5 pounds over and you did everything that you thought you were supposed to do, what is your reaction to that? And they're like, I panic. They're like, I get emotional. I'm like, this is not working. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just that they're so objective for their businesses, which is this external thing. But when it comes to the internal, they are not objective at all. They're quite emotional. So I like to get data because that makes me objective about what's happening with my business or what's happening with my body, so to speak.
Where do you put all this data? Like, is there an app that can aggregate everything for you?
Right now, we're working on it
Oh, that
at
would
this
be
very
sick.
moment. Yeah. So it's like what we're looking for is like weight trends. We're looking for inches. We're looking
Yeah.
for a place to put your blood work. We're looking for a place to put your DEXA scans. Right now, there's not anything that aggregates everything all at once, but we can have things that file things away. So even in my software, we can file away the DEXA, we can file away the blood work, we can file away the recommendations, we can have the actual dashboard in front of us, but we don't have anything right now that can give us this health dashboard. And that's one of the things that we're working on at this
Yeah, because
point.
it's annoying. I mean, I have the Aura Ring, right?
Yeah.
So I'm now tracking like movement and steps
Yeah.
and sleep, etc. But then I got to go to MyFitnessPal or something to
Yes.
plug it all in, and then I got to go to like Ladder to do my workouts that I'm going to do. But I can't actually very easily input my numbers for how much weights I'm lifting every single. So at some point, I'm pretty high functioning. You're like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like I have to have 37 apps. And I already run a business, how come I got to do this other one? So it does feel
the
overwhelming.
unfortunate part.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is an unfortunate part. How's the Aura Ring going for you right now?
Actually, I'm loving it,
Yeah.
which is like, just like you said, what gets measured gets managed. And then also I think where your attention flows, that's where your energy goes, like Tony Robbins says. And so the fact that I just know every single day, we also have the 8 sleep bed. So it pings me like, how'd you sleep last night, which makes me want to look at the Aura Ring. And then I sort of gamify, okay, did I do the steps? Did I do the workout today?
Yeah.
And it becomes a habit,
Yeah. How long have you had it for?
I've had it for like not long, maybe 4 months, something like that.
I've got some strong opinions about that.
Oh no, you don't like them? What's wrong with the Aura Ring?
There's nothing wrong with the Aura Ring. Let's just put that out there. But there is something wrong with using data to kind of like track and make yourself emotional about this stuff. Okay, so my whole thing about these trackers is the fact that we should use them to get the data. Once we get the data, once we make improvements, we should actually stop using them. And I say for every single one of the people, should I get an Aura Ring? Should I get a Whoop or whatever it is? I'm actually saying like you should get it for probably like 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
You should make the improvements that you should make, and everyone's different. So you can test out magnesium glycinate, you can test out mouth taping, all this kind of stuff for your sleep and recovery and whatnot. Once you get that data, once you make the improvements, once you know your average score is at like 85, 90 for like sleep or whatever, get rid of it. And the reason I say that is because when you actually get a bad score, and these sleep trackers are not necessarily most accurate. So let's just say you get a bad score. How do you think that's going to make you feel for the rest of the day?
Yeah.
You get a 60 on your sleep score and you're like, oh, I'm so tired. I don't think I can I'm not going to be operating at my best. Or let's just say you get a low recovery score, which is like what they give you, even though you're feeling fucking amazing. How do you think you're going to feel? It's going to give you this cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, yes, use it to get the data, but eventually over time, you're going to have to take away the safety blanket and trust like the behaviors that you're doing and not have something to actually tell you, okay, you're doing great. You have high energy. You can go get after it. For me, like one of the best things I ever did was actually for my health was actually get rid of the Aura Ring.
Interesting. Because you were obsessing on it.
I was obsessing on it.
Yeah.
And it was dictating the way I felt.
Yeah. And I think
Right.
that can happen. It's a really good point, actually, because some of my girlfriends don't sleep well. Happens to a lot of women right after they have a kid. Like
Yes.
they really, a lot of them struggle with sleep, it
Yes.
seems.
Yeah.
And so, and they'd be like, I would just be so stressed when I looked at my sleep score every day. And I sleep like a baby. So I'm always like, no, I'm fucking Brian Johnson Jr. over here. So it doesn't bother me. But if I stopped being able to sleep well, it probably would. So I like you almost, it's like anything else. You're not going to get your blood tested every single day unless you're sick.
Yes.
You're going to do it for a period. Then you're going to put it away. Then if you're not feeling good again, you might take it back out again, re-engage.
Yes.
Oura Ring is not going to like this podcast.
Well,
They're
are they
going to want to
sponsoring this
cut
right
your
now?
subscription revenue in half. No, they're not sponsoring it, but I
Okay.
like that. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to talk about one other thing that you talked about that I thought was so true, which is you said you're never going to be as young as you are right now. Being in good shape in your 20s is not impressive. Being 40 years old and being fit is a massive status symbol.
Yeah. There is this law of diminishing health as we get older. You're probably noticing it right now. If you don't mind me asking, like how old are you? Right?
38.
Okay, so 38. You probably know some of your college girlfriends, seeing them grow over the years. There's only a very small percentage of them who are keeping themselves in tip-top shape,
Yeah.
who look like they looked like when they were in college. And the reason is because you have responsibilities. In college, there's one guy on my Twitter who's just like, yeah, man, I used to like drink and I was like in the best shape of my life in college. And I was like, yeah, because when you drank, you were dancing. You're moving all over the place. You're going from like campus to campus and you're like going out with your friends and you're just moving all the time. And obviously you had good hormone health at that point too. But as we get older, number one is we slow down. Number two is that we have more responsibilities. Let's just say we have like 2 kids. That's a lot to handle. And you're not getting as many steps as you would like handling a toddler, no matter what anyone says. And it's also stress. You feel more stress as you get older. Maybe because it's perception, or maybe it's because of the overall weight of everything that you have to handle, all the stuff that's on your shoulders. So what I say is like when you are in your 40s, and if you're able to keep yourself in shape in your 40s, way more impressive than your 20s, because not only are you dealing with responsibilities, you're dealing with hormone changes as well. And you're also dealing with the modern life that's just like slowing us down.
Yeah.
And just in general, it's like, hey, like you're supposed to be in your shape in your 20s, okay? Like, come on.
I know that's
like,
what I always tell them too. I'm like, yeah, just wait until you're my age. Like,
yeah.
I looked like that too. Okay.
Yeah. Like, chill, bro. You're 20, okay?
I know.
Relax.
I know. I do miss those days, actually.
Yeah.
You know, you told a story that was so beautiful, but also daunting to me about you were in your early 20s and you walked into your dad's house at 6 a.m.
Yes.
and you were super drunk. And then something happened that kind of changed your whole perspective on health.
Yeah. Okay, so I was a degenerate pretty much like my entire life up until my 20s. Always a D student in school. When I got to high school dropout. Grade 9 or freshman year, I was in typewriting class or, keyboarding class.
I remember that. I'm that old too.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Okay.
The teacher had to talk to my mom and say, yo, your kid sucks. People don't know this. I failed kindergarten. I didn't even know that was possible. I failed what did I like? They fail people in kindergarten. You're like, you're supposed to do your ABCs. I don't know. So I was always like a shit kid, always. And there was one point in the time where I got really into raving. I got really into doing ecstasy, MDMA, all of the drugs, except for the ones that you put up your nose, because that was like the most dangerous one. I was like, I ain't gonna touch that stuff, right? And there was one time I came home at 6 a.m. and I just walked in, and then you walk in and you see your parent, and you're just like, and then like automatically in your brain, you're like, okay, I gotta play this off. I gotta act like I'm normal. That I'm just coming home from like Bible study or something like that. And I just looked in his face. I was like, hey, like, how's it going? And he went to me. He was just like, he looked at me with the most disappointed Asian father face that you can ever think of. And he's just like, I'm going to the gym. And he just walked past me, walked straight out, didn't say anything. And then that left an impression on me that I will never forget to this day. I actually still remember it vividly. And the reason why I remember that is because at that time, my dad was probably around like 30 pounds overweight at that point. And he was waking up at 6 a.m., hitting the gym. And guess what happened? 1 month later, my dad comes out. He's like the member of the month. He went to the gym like 30 days a week or whatever, or 30 days, like 30 days straight. They gave him like a free month pass. He actually gave it to my brother. It was like my brother's like, nah, I'm good. Here, give it to little Dan. Gave it to me, and I was just like, because of that impression I had of my dad, I was like, hey, maybe this gym thing can be a little bit cool. At worst, I will see hot women. At best, I will get myself in shape. So I ended up taking the gym pass, walking to the gym every single day. I was doing nothing at that time, like absolutely nothing, just playing video games, partying. But in the afternoons, I had a lot of time. So I went to the gym. And then lo and behold, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks into it, I end up putting on my pant, putting on my belt. And then I just like cinch it in like one more notch. And I'm just like, yo, this is nuts. If this happens with me not even like caring about my nutrition, like what happens if I go longer? And then that was like when you get results, that's when you become like just obsessed with the gym. And at that point in time, I didn't realize it, but I was changing my brain.
Mm.
So I wasn't even exercising. And then the time that I brought like exercise into my life, it was starting to just like change my thoughts. I was starting to go from being this negative dude, oh yeah, woe is me, to being like, hey, like I can pretty much like do things, you know, I can take action. And it was almost like the, what do they call it? The entry level drug for
Mhm.
self-improvement for me. And then from there, I never looked back. Pretty much like I ended up quitting a corporate job that I hated, started becoming a personal trainer because I was so into fitness, started to be obsessed about fat loss. And then all of this, like I got myself $15,000 out of debt, getting out of credit card debt, all that. Like it just was the lead domino to so many amazing things in my life. And I will never forget it. And I just blame my dad for it. He's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
It is weird to think about you as a non-positive guy. Like I
Yeah.
almost do not have, I can't imagine that frame for you,
Yeah.
just as long as I've been following you on the internet and we've been chatting back and forth. So that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So when you were talking to, some of your clients and you've helped thousands of people lose more than 100,000 pounds
Yeah.
of fat, right? Over the
Hell yeah.
last however many years.
Hell yeah.
Um, is that the first, like, what's the first thing you tell somebody who is like, I am fat and I'm miserable and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this?
I will not even tell them anything.
Mm.
I will ask them why. That's the biggest question. Why is this happening?
Mm.
So I'll track back. So one of the things that we do inside of our practice, inside of our coaching practice, is we do this thing called the theory of constraints. This is something that we all know in business, and we want to find out what is the reason why you are doing this. What is the root cause? And I remember talking to one of my clients, and he was just like, he had a problem with binge eating at night specifically. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, why do you do that? I don't know. I just have cravings. I don't know why I do that. And to me, I'm just like, you have to like peel the onion a lot, right? And there's always like a physiological reason and there's a psychological reason. So his physiological reason was he wasn't getting enough nutrients, wasn't eating breakfast, all this kind of stuff. But the psychological reason is the one that makes the actual constraint fixed. So we kept on asking him, why? Why? Kept on asking him. He's like, Dan, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't know. And I was just like, just dig, just stay with me here for a second. What happened was he realized that when he was a kid, he actually had two sisters. When he was a kid, his mom put so much attention on his two sisters, neglected the fuck out of him. So for him, what he did was he went into the kitchen every single night. He had to cope with these feelings that he was going through. The only way he could cope was opening up the fridge and eating whatever was in the freezer, whatever was inside the fridge, and making that actually numb the thing that he was feeling. So I never tell people, this is what you should do. Oh, you should do that. I actually say, I want to get down to the root of why you behave the way that you behave. If we can actually just bring awareness around why you are the way that you are, awareness to me is a precursor of change.
Mm.
If you shine a light, then that's going to be the best disinfectant. So the next time he goes and binge eats at night and whatever it is, at least he knows why he's doing it, as opposed to most people who are just subconsciously just doing it because they're trying to numb something, right? So I'm always asking why. I'm never telling people what to do.
That's wild. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
So we almost start with the psychological. And then you can say, okay, it actually makes sense though, because it's not like this stuff is that complex. Like
Yes.
you have another one that I love that I remind myself of. It's like, all right, all of the information that I've learned about fitness can be distilled into this formula. Walk daily, drink water, be in nature, eat nutrient dense foods, follow circadian rhythms, strength train 3 to 4x a week, get 7 to 8 hours of good sleep. Your brain and body will change for the better when you do this consistently. Not rocket science, really.
No, it's not rocket science, but why are we not doing it? We know what to do, but why are we not doing it? And that to me is the psychological side. So we'll bring it back to, say, someone who's building a business. And I'm pretty sure you've talked to clients about this. You've also dealt with people who have, let's just call it like mental blocks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like Cody, we're not getting enough leads in our business. Like, what's going on? And you're like, you should do this, this, and that, and this, and that. And then next week they're like, okay, did you do those things? No, I didn't. Like all these things like came up and whatever it is. And then at that point you gotta be like, okay, well, this is not a tactical issue. This is a psychological issue. And for most people, that is the issue for them. It is a psychological issue that is wrapped up in a tactical issue. They're like, oh, like I don't know how to count my calories. Oh, like I'm eating the wrong foods. Oh, seed oils and like all this kind of stuff. No. There is a emotion that you're numbing as a result of the food that you're eating or the alcohol that you're drinking. And unless you can actually find out what it is that you're numbing and do the work to actually heal that stuff, you are going to run up against the same psychological roadblock every damn time. And let me tell you this right now, that shit is hard. It's the hardest thing to do. Because guess what? It's going to actually show you, oh, maybe I'm like not in the right relationship right now. Maybe I'm chasing the wrong ladder. But I don't want to think about it, so I'm just going to have another old fashioned. It's going to bring up so many of these decisions and these conversations that you should be having with yourself that you are avoiding. And most times people don't want to go through that work. They just want to go through the numbing agents that allow them to not have to feel that.
What percentage of people who are not fit and not healthy realize that it's psychological?
I think for the vast majority, they realize it's psychological. Now, the question is that whether or not they want to do the work to find out why. And then that's probably, I would say, I don't know if I can put a percentage on that, but let's just say like not a lot of people. Because behavior change is hard. You have to, changing your personality in general and the way in which you react to things is hard. And then that also means that you're going to have to look at the world in a different way. And we also have to look at these excuses, these rationalizations that we have, and the ways in which we look at this world, the ways in which we behave in this world, as ways in which that give us comfort. If we don't have the security blanket of comfort anymore, what happens? Oh shit, we have to take responsibility for our lives. I'll ask you, like, how many people are willing to take responsibility for their lives?
Not enough.
Not enough. And maybe they can do it with their business sometimes. You're dealing with entrepreneurs. I could do this with something external. But when it comes to the thing that's internal, ooh, like I got to change like something inside of me. I don't know about that.
Yeah. It also seems to me that a lot of this is that society makes it more comfortable to be unhealthy and unfit. Like,
Yes.
for instance, there was something else that I was reading from you that I really liked, which was, it was basically this, that society eats so much junk food that real food is considered dieting.
Yeah.
And that also when you tell people, hey, I'm going to eat only protein this month, I'm not drinking, I'm not doing any of that. They're like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Why aren't you joining me? And so it's lonely trying to be healthy for some reason. What happened there?
Isn't it lonely? Like when you started to first become an entrepreneur, wasn't that lonely at first too?
Yeah.
Because you had to kind of separate from all the finance people.
Yeah.
And then you had to go your own way. And not a lot of people are willing to go through that process of being lonely. When I started to get in shape, I I realized like, oh crap, I really don't like drinking alcohol that much. But
Mhm.
here I am binge drinking every single weekend. Like, what's going on here? It's because I want to do things that make me feel part of a tribe.
Mhm.
I want to be part of the tribe. I don't want to be ostracized.
Mhm.
And inherently, we're all in it for survival. That's what we're all in it for. If we lose the tribe, then we lose our survival. But we're not living in tribes anymore. But technically, we are. We maybe are, we maybe not. But inherently, that's what's happening. They don't want to be ostracized. They don't want to be away from the tribe. When I started to get my body in shape, I actually had to get rid of a lot of friends because when you start to get in shape, you realize that water attracts its own level.
Mm.
You want to hang around people who have the value of health and not people who are being like, all right, let's have Big Macs, let's have, burgers and fries and like all the time. Like that stuff's cool once in a while, but not like all the time.
Mhm.
And the other thing that we have to realize when it comes to this stuff is that we're changing identity.
Mm.
That's what we're doing. And to me, changing of identity, changing your self-image, changing the way in which you look at yourself and how you perceive yourself, that's probably one of the most important things that we have to do in this journey. Even going from, let's just say, like we're using a business perspective, it's like going from like being someone that earns 6 figures to being someone that earns 7 figures to being someone that earns 8 figures to 9 figures, whatever. Those jumps require a change of identity.
Mhm.
The same thing goes with our bodies that people don't realize. Making these jumps, going from, let's just say, being metabolically unhealthy to being metabolically healthy to being metabolically healthy to getting a six pack to doing all this kind of stuff. That requires change of identity, change of behavior. Are you willing to do the work to get there? That is the question.
How does one change their identity to get health?
I think like the most important thing is to get someone to help you, to be honest. Like
Mhm.
you have to invest in yourself, whether it be in education, whether it be in the coach, or whether that, I mean, to me, it's like the fastest path between point A, point B, the place where you want to be, is actually finding a coach that tells you what to do and what not to do. That's like the most important thing. And I look at kind of like education in 3 steps, which is like you have your free education, which is like the stuff that we do on social media. We give away our best stuff, like to be
Mhm.
honest. We tell you like what the sauce is already. Then you have your courses, which is do it yourself. This is the system, you do it yourself. Then you have the most important one, which is the coach. I think that's the most important one because the coach is going to call you on your bullshit. They're going to keep you accountable. They're going to say, don't do this, avoid this mistake, watch out for that. Okay, cool, we're good. And for me, it's like that's probably the most important thing. But if you can't actually do that, then we have to do it by ourselves. If we have to do it by ourselves, what can we do? Well, number one is what we just talked about, theory of constraints. Okay, so I know I have to eat healthy. I know I have to work out. I know I have to sleep well, whatever. Okay, what is like the number one thing that I can work on right now that I will subordinate everything
Mm.
to just work on this thing? And the thing about theory of the constraints is you subordinate everything, you work on that one thing, that one little habit that's just holding you back, whether it's binge eating at night, whether it's snacking, whether it's not working out, like whatever it is, you just focus on that one thing. And then what you have to do is you have to get support on it. You have to find actually you have to find out awareness around it. Why am I not doing this? What is the reason? Then you have to get support. Then you have to make sure that you just track that habit over and over and over until it becomes a part of your life.
Mm.
And then after you're done that, you go on to the next thing. The thing that people want is like this whole body transformation, get abs in 6 weeks or whatever it is. But the reality of the matter is that getting into the best health of your life is about incremental changes that you're making over the course of a year, 2 years, even sometimes like 3 years. And one thing that I always ask my clients, because a lot of clients just come to me, they want to lose weight. Cool. All right. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, hey, John, how long did it take you to gain this weight? And be like, yeah, ever since I started my business 5 years, I just like started gaining weight, and I just haven't like everything else in my life is great, but this part I just can't get a handle on. Cool. How long are you giving yourself to lose this weight? He's like, 6 weeks. I'm like, what? Like, dude. And so I have this mantra that I try to impart to my clients. Is just like, as long as it takes. If it takes a year, cool. If it takes even like a year and a half, cool. But what you're doing is when you give yourself an elongated time horizon to do this, you're giving yourself the chance to make mistakes. You're giving yourself the chance to find out things that work for you. You're giving yourself the chance to fall on your face and to know what that looks like, to step on a scale and to see that, hey, I'm doing everything I can, but the weight's still going up. Like, what's happening? it gives yourself the ability to actually create that objectiveness around your body, as opposed to the emotionality that a lot of people bring to it.
Yeah. What do you think are some, I hate to use the word hacks here. What's a better way to ask this question? Sometimes I think when you understand a framework can accelerate your path to success.
Yes.
Because you're like, all right, I see a highway that I can drive down. There's like this framework we've already existed on. If I drive on a highway, I go faster than if I drive on a back street. Like we just know that this one moves faster than the other.
Mhm.
You have one framework, which I really liked, to determine if you're actually hungry or if you're eating for some other reason, which was called the apple test.
Yes. And hunger is like a huge thing, especially for people who are trying to get lean. It's like hunger's going to pop up, right? Like you can't do anything about it, especially if you're in a caloric deficit. So, but a lot of times, like we have to understand there's like 3 levels of hunger. There's like hormonal hunger, which is like leptin, ghrelin. They're popping up and saying, "Hey, what's up? Like, I'm kind of like, we're kind of fucked up right here, but we want to eat a little bit." And there is also the actual physiological hunger, which is like, "Hey, what's up, Dan? You haven't had a meal for like 12 hours. Like, you got to eat." And then you have what is called hedonic hunger, which is like, am I hungry because I'm bored or am I hungry because I'm actually hungry? And then this is where the apple test comes in. So the thing about apples is that they're 68% water, they are nutrient dense, and not a lot, I'm going to say like the vast majority of people do not crave apples or eating apples whatsoever. So I say, eat the apple, see what happens, wait 20 minutes, keep yourself busy. Are you going to be hungry afterwards? If you're still hungry, then maybe you actually are hungry, right? If you're not hungry, then you just saved yourself maybe 500 to 1,000 calories of like eating whatever junk food that's around you. So I like to have protocols. For me, systems is everything. Like if I'm running a successful business, I need to have systems. If I'm running a successful body, I need to have systems. And I think that the main thing that people are missing are these protocols and systems in their lives when these things pop up.
How much of your clientele is starting to use things like Ozempic now? And do you like, and I use Ozempic because it's the easier word for everybody to know,
sure.
but what do you think about Ozempic? Should we be using it?
I think for people who are morbidly obese, absolutely. Just being morbidly obese and having way too much weight on your body, then you are going to benefit from not having that much weight on your body. For someone who has like 20 or 30 pounds to lose, who's kind of like looking at it as like this, hey, hack that I can use just to like help myself lose the 20 to 30 pounds, I'm going to say you should probably chill out a little bit and kind of give yourself a little bit more discernment, because the thing that we're realizing about these drugs is the fact that, hey, when you get off of it, guess what's going to happen to the hunger? It's going to come back. These are almost like forever drugs, so to speak. You're going to have to take them for pretty much, I would say, like the rest of your life. Also, the thing that we're realizing is that people are using this as like a hack to lose weight. They're actually burning off the thing that is the longevity organ of your body, which is muscle. Like I've seen people go on Ozempic and not eat high protein, not do resistance training. And then we're starting to see that people are coming up with osteoporosis. Starting to see people lose a shit ton of lean mass. Do you know what happens to your metabolism when you lose a lot of lean mass? And yes, you want to eat high protein. Yes, you want to do resistance training, but a lot of people are using this as like this quick fix just to lose a lot of weight. The percentage of people who are inside of our program who want to use these drugs or are on these drugs is 0. Absolute 0. But I'll tell you this, we're working with entrepreneurs, executives, professionals, high fucking achievers. So when it comes to the high achiever, it doesn't mean that they're not going to use Ozempic, especially if they're morbidly obese. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that most of the times these guys are willing to do the hard work.
Yeah.
And they're willing to do the work it takes to discipline themselves, to actually follow a program. And Ozempic is like the last resort for them. For them, the first resort is like, hey, let's get our behaviors fixed. So I actually did have one client who was on Ozempic, did great, but we had an escape plan. We created an escape plan for Ozempic because we knew that the hunger was going to come back. we knew that he was going to start to feel uncontrollable cravings.
What was
So,
the escape plan?
oh, the escape plan was, hey, like you and I are going to talk on the phone every single day. We're going to track like exactly what's going into your body. We're going to make sure that you're eating enough fiber. We're going to make sure you're still eating enough protein. We're going to make sure that you're not going to stress yourself out with like long endurance cardio or anything like that. We're just going to walk. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have to go through what I call the struggle bus period. The struggle bus period is like the 3 to even 6 months where your hunger is going to be elevated as a result of getting off of Ozempic. So we just want to make sure there's an escape plan. Just like anything else with any medication, there has to be an escape plan for it. And then we have to actually keep them highly accountable to abiding by the escape plan.
It's fascinating, actually, because no doctors give you an escape plan for medicine.
No.
I mean, for cholesterol levels, you're just on cholesterol medicine for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Then you add whatever blood thinner you need on top of it. Then you add something else. And no part of that is a mandate for you to walk more and eat less.
I feel like the health system is a system of learned helplessness where they will give you the medication. They'll be like, hey, you gotta walk, you gotta do all this kind of stuff. But really it's just like they will also, I would say, recommend you being on this medication. And I don't want to go through the whole like, oh, they're making money off it, they're not making money, whatever. You know, the thing is that unfortunately people want this too. That's what people want. They actually want the magic pill.
Yep.
And they're willing to deal with the side effects as a result of taking this pill. To me, there's no free lunch out there. There's absolutely zero free lunch when it comes to any kind of medication, any kind of thing that you're putting into your body. For eating nutrient-dense foods, high protein, whatever, it's not a free lunch either. There's effort. Like that's the actual cost. For all this stuff, the free lunch is side effects. The free lunch is having to be on this stuff for the rest of your life. Whatever this stuff is going to cost you for the rest of your life. And when I go back and I'm just like, hey, you really should like, hit the gym like 3 times a week and, work out with weights. They're like, do I really have to? Like, I just want to take this pill. And I feel like it's, a lot of doctors catch a lot of flack for recommending these drugs. But the unfortunate thing is that it is the consumer that actually is asking for this stuff. Notwithstanding the shitty things that are happening with like pharma advertising, all the advertising that's happening with pharma that actually pushes this stuff and psyops people into wanting to take this stuff. That shit is fucking, I will say that's like evil.
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
So
agree.
it's a confluence of a lot of things, and I try not to blame doctors for this kind of stuff, but again, everyone is complicit.
Yeah, we're all a product of our environment too. One of the things that I think is really interesting about you is all these high performers that you work with.
Yeah.
And you talk a lot about the connection between the body and increased cognition in your brain. What have you found with high performers, and if they get their body more healthy, what happens to their brain?
They make more money. That's number one. We hit record-breaking revenue months, almost with, I would say, like 75% of our clients. So like some of them are just masters at making money, but at the same time, for a lot of people, because it's not really, it is about the cognition, but to me, it's more about the emotional control. It's more about the decision making. So what we know about, especially when we get rid of visceral fat, when we get rid of belly fat, when we get rid of that stuff, what happens as a result is the brain starts to work better. You start to amplify and start to grow areas in your brain that are responsible for decision making and emotional control. I actually set out this tweet before. People got pissed at me, but fuck it, whatever. It's just like if you have a big belly, it's gonna fuck up your brain, bar none. Okay, like it is. And then people are like, no, it's not true and whatever. I was like, just Google this, bro. Just Google this. Like, I don't have to tell you what the evidence is. Like, we all know this stuff. This is all just basic.
But why is that? And visceral fat is explain visceral fat quickly.
Visceral fat is the most dangerous fat that's on the body. We should not be aiming to have like absolute zero visceral fat on our bodies, but we should be aiming to have at least healthy amounts of visceral fat. When we have too much visceral fat on our bodies, it sets us up for a lifetime of preventable disease. Things like type 2 diabetes, things like certain cancers, Alzheimer's. And this is very much a lifestyle thing. It's about the foods that you put into your body. It's about the exercise that you do. And for me, it's like my full thing, and this is actually more prevalent for guys than it is for girls.
Mm.
For guys, because they have like the beer belly, that is a sign of having visceral fat. And if you want to check like how much visceral fat or whether or not I have too much, we go through the waist to height ratio, right? So it's like, okay, what is your height in inches and what is your waist in inches? If it's above 50%, you probably have way too much visceral fat. You're probably at a dangerous level right now.
Mm.
And you know what? A lot of people are at that level.
Yeah.
This is an aside, but I posted this like before picture of myself. Like when I was actually a before picture when I was like in my 20s, before I changed my body, and a before picture because when my second daughter came about, I got myself out of shape. And then when I posted that, a lot of guys were saying about the before pictures, like, hey, like I'd like to look at like that. I'd actually like to look like that body right there. The before picture, like the fat one. And then for me, I'm 45 years old. I remember 20 years ago, I was like, that was actually considered fat back then.
Yeah.
Standards have inflated large amounts. Now that's not now that's actually considered to be healthy. But when we know about metabolic health, like anything above like say for a guy, like 20% body fat is going to be metabolically unhealthy.
Mm.
But standards change. Even right now, they're like lowering the standard for like testosterone, saying like, okay, you shouldn't have this much. You should actually have like around like 500 or whatever. But I digress.
And you think that that is wrong. They're just averaging out to what society is today.
Yeah.
And because most people have lower testosterone, they're saying this is average. You're like, yeah, but it's not good
Yeah.
for anybody.
They're moving the goalpost.
Wow.
That's what they're doing. Like they're just moving the goalpost. And there is something to be said. I don't want to get into kind of like the overarching kind of like idea of what testosterone is, but they've done studies where it's like when you have more testosterone in your body, when a guy has more testosterone in his body, he becomes more of an independent thinker. Also, like if you have your body in shape, if you are metabolically healthy, I label it as like you are less likely to be controlled.
Yeah.
Because you have agency. You have actually high agency. Any person who's in shape, you can actually say, hey, this guy has high agency, at least when it comes to his health. Because you're willing to do what it takes to keep yourself in shape. It's discipline.
How do they show increased independent thinking with decreased, let's say, visceral fat or increased muscle? How would they?
It's more correlation with the testosterone thing than it is with the visceral fat.
So how do they measure that?
I believe they have done correlation studies between the amount of times or the amount of testosterone people have on their bodies and the actual like studies or actually like stats that they would pull from like surveys.
Interesting.
But yeah, I will say
find
that
it.
yeah, we're gonna find it.
Yeah, we'll link some in the
up.
studies and see what we
post
find.
It up. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to think that now it makes sense to me that when you have less visceral fat, your body can just be more highly functioning.
Yes.
Is that why? So why would your brain grow new neural pathways and actually be more efficient just because you have less fat? What's the ideology there?
It's about blood flow.
Yeah.
So when you have less blood flow going to the brain, what's going to happen is that all of the brain's energy or all of your body's energy is going to be diverted to the place that needs the most attention. And that is protecting your organs. And the thing that we know about visceral fat is the fact that where it's placed in the body is around your most important organs. It's around your heart, it's around your liver, it's around your pancreas, it's around your kidneys. So what's going to happen is that all the energy that would be diverted to giving yourself blood flow in the brain is going to be diverted into the place to keep you healthy or to keep you alive inside of visceral fat. And what we know is that when you have more visceral fat on your body, it actually leads to more shrinkage in the brain for the areas, I think it's the hippocampus, that has the responsibility of emotional control.
Fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, I think, this is the other stuff that's sort of normal now is to relegate health as something totally self-sufficient from wealth. We say, yeah, well, I'm wealthy because I have a lot of money. Are you, if you're also not healthy? I mean, you have a line that is so beautiful that I go back to a lot, which is that you can have 1,000 problems in life until you have a health problem. Then you only have one.
Yeah.
That is so real. And yet we chase these dollar signs and we go after them because money does equal freedom. But damn, if I got cancer right now, the rest kind of doesn't matter.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. That's for sure. And I liken this to something that's small. So when I played basketball. I remember one time I sprained my ankle. Have you ever sprained your ankle before?
Yeah.
And then you know that walking on your ankle, the only thing that you want in life is just to walk normally at that point.
Yep.
That's all you want. Because when you're walking with a sprained ankle, you're like, oh, you're hobbling and all this kind of stuff. And that's something small. Let's bring it to something that's a little bit bigger. Say something like cancer. That puts things into perspective. I remember when I was 24 years old and being a complete degenerate, we got this call from my dad. And he was like, we were in Toronto or we were in Ontario. He's like, you got to come to Niagara. Your mom's in the hospital. You got to come here quick because we don't know if she's going to make it. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, we thought our mom was the healthiest person on the planet. We zip down there and then we go through this 6-month ordeal of just dealing with the hospital, being in ICU, all this kind of stuff until we ultimately lose our mom. We ultimately lose mom, the most important person in my life. And obviously, when you lose your mom, you're depressed, you're grieving. And I remember at that point in time, nothing else mattered. My friends didn't matter. How much money I would have made or all these like dreams and like of like whatever, it didn't fucking matter. The only thing that mattered was I wanted my mom to be back in my life. And let's like bring it to someone who's maybe a parent. What's going to happen if you don't take care of yourself? Okay, let's extrapolate this. So number one, okay, like God forbid we get a disease. Then you're kind of making your family suffer as a result of the fact that you didn't take care of yourself when you could have. And then now they have to take care of you. And now you're being a burden to your family. Let's extrapolate this even further. Let's just say that you can hit the gym 3 times a week. You're just too lazy to do it. Okay, like when you're 80 years old, you're going to have your kids look after you. You're not going to be independent. They're going to be worrying about you all the freaking time, unless they're like going to throw you in the nursing home, which is even worse. So my whole thing is, and I've said this before, where it's like part of the reason I get in shape is, and keeping my body shape is so I don't become a burden to my family. You know?
Do you think that are there studies and data that says that if you are healthy, you have a decreased chance of having dementia?
Absolutely. I mean, I can't pull those studies, right off the bat, but to me, there is the genetic component of having dementia or having Alzheimer's. And then there's also the epigenetic component where you have the ability to transform your genes through your lifestyle, through the foods that you eat, through the exercise that you do. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, like I'm stuck with this gene or I don't have like good genetics or whatever. But the thing is that you can actually change your genes through epigenetics, through kind of like your behaviors, through what you do right now. And the really cool thing that we're learning is that this can be generational. So let's just say like you're overweight, you get yourself in shape, and then you end up having a kid. And you end up kind of like kicking the can, 90 years old, whatever it is, like you're gone. You don't realize that you just passed down your in-shape genes to that kid. You also don't realize that you left an imprint on how you took care of your body on that kid. So for me, it's like one of the greatest things that you can do for your kids is like lift the generational curse of not being in shape, of not having good, healthy behaviors. And the more that you can do that, the more that you're creating this kind of like family and this behavior of wealth inside of your family. You are setting up your generation. You're setting up your family for generations to come.
It's fascinating. My grandparents right now 2 of them have dementia. One is pretty late stage.
Sorry to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really a terrible disease.
Yeah.
And so I've been spending more time with my family and them. And the tough part about both of them is, they kind of stopped being mobile. And so they stopped being mobile way before they needed to. My grandmother got a knee surgery and really stopped being mobile after the knee surgery. They got kind of shut down during COVID, right? So then they stopped having interpersonal interaction. My grandfather got macular degeneration, so he stopped being able to see well, which meant he couldn't walk as much and go in his garden. And I very quickly saw over the course, it was fascinating how fast it happened. Over the course of about a year or two, just their health completely collapsed.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the impetus of it was this lack of movement.
Yeah.
And they hadn't ever been like wildly healthy, but they made a lot of their own food and they were very, very active. And then that stopped.
Yeah.
And then I compare that with my grandmother, who is going to be 100 next month.
Yeah.
And she motors. That woman played golf until she was 93, I think, and walks around, takes care of herself, does physical therapy, and is so sharp cognitively because of it. And it's like the tale of two families.
Yeah.
We can go to the left or we could go to the right. Yeah. And I see similar patterns actually in my parents. And so, my mom's super active now. She's gotten really into Pilates and working out.
Nice.
And my dad's side of the family, just not as much. And so watching that transcend to my brother versus how I am you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You carry a lineage that you are passing down to your children that you have the ability to affect the outcome on. And you have to ask yourself, am I not willing to only die for them, but might I live for them?
100%. And I'm sorry to hear about your grandparents.
Thank you.
Yeah. The thing that kind of strikes out to me a little bit is when you stop moving, that also makes you a little bit more morose, and depressed. You start to have more negative thoughts too, and because you're just not moving your body. And to me, it's like the movement it's almost like there's this hamster that's inside of the wheel, and you have to keep the hamster moving. You have to keep the hamster moving all the time, and if you stop it, it is the old saying where it's like you lose it, or you use it, or you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, one of the things that I constantly remember is like I have a really close friend, and his grandparents lived until 99 and 100. What did they do every day? They walked 2 to 3 miles, no matter what the weather was.
Yeah.
They cooked their own meals. I met my first centaur. Actually, I met probably my second centenarian. So she was in Haleiwa in Hawaii, and sharp as a tack. And I asked her, I was like, "You're my second centenarian that I've ever met. Why? Like, what happened?" And then she was like, "I play tennis. I go out. I still drink margaritas. I still eat tacos, but I stay active. I keep my weight, pretty stable, and I have fun." And then she was like the happiest person I've ever met too.
Yeah.
Big smiles. So my whole thing is just like you have to constantly keep yourself in motion, no matter, because the whole thing about life right now is like, how can we make you as comfortable as humanly possible?
That is true.
To me, comfort is a drug.
Yeah.
That's the most addictive drug on the planet right now. It's like, how can we stop you from moving? Even this whole thing with like robotics and like all this stuff, like, how can we stop you from cleaning your home? How can we stop you from doing your dishes? How can we stop you from gardening? How can we make life easier for you? And my whole thing is like, you don't want life to be easy. Like, once life is actually easy for you, that's when all the shit hits the fan. Mm. That's when you see the slow degradation of the way in which you should have lived. Mm. So for me, it's like, keep yourself in motion. Yes, there are ways to do it. You want to be lifting weights, obviously. You want to be eating a nutrient-dense diet. You want to be focusing on your sleep. But give a fuck about your health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still close friends with people who are really unhealthy?
Am I still close? That's a very good question, actually. Yes, I am. And I have people on my team who are somewhat not as healthy or metabolically unhealthy. And for me, it's about the person. It's not necessarily about their behaviors.
Yeah.
But yes.
Do you think that being unhealthy or being fit is contagious?
To a certain degree, yes. But will it be contagious for everybody? It depends on how much resistance that they're seeing inside themselves. Also depends like how sensitive they are as well. I remember I had a conversation with a guy who used to be my friend, and and for me, I'm actually of the mind of like, hey, if I'm a friend, I gotta be straight up with you, right? And I hadn't seen this guy for probably like 3 to 5 years, or actually probably 3 years. And he had gained probably, I would say, like 40 to 50 pounds on his body. First time seeing him, like, whoa. And my wife was just like, whoa, like, holy crap, what happened? So we're walking down the street one day, and I was like, yo, are we going to do something about this? Like, I'm willing to help. What do you need? And then he was just like, and then I just pretty much ran up against a brick wall. Dan, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what's happening in my life. And you don't know this and you don't know that. I'm just like I never asked that. I just want to know if you need help. And for a lot of people, they are stuck in this story of why they can't get in shape, of like why they can't do this stuff, of like why this is all happening to them. And for me, it's like me being like the guy that I am, it's like I almost like turned from like a type B to like a type A personality by just getting my body in shape and being like a hard driver, being so motivated. For me, it's almost like I don't know why people would not want to do this. Because do you not want to have more energy? Do you not want to make more money? Do you not want to be more confident? And all it is that people have this story around the reasons why they can't get in shape. And as long as you actually just still be stuck in that reason, then it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, my dad always says you can't teach desire.
Yeah.
And so, but I do think, to your point, you can stimulate somebody else to desire a thing that they truly want. And it sounds like that's what you do. It's by getting to that root and then saying, hey, are you aware that this idea is what's holding you back? And then they might have the desire to fix that.
I would hope so. It depends on the person.
Can you tell right away if somebody will do the things that they need to do to change their health or not? Do you have like a 60-second gut reaction to it by now after 20 years?
Definitely. Are we talking about someone that's like hiring me, or are we talking about someone that's like
do you have questions that you go through that you're like, well, you're not going to make it, I can already tell?
Okay, there's actually a line that people use where I'm like, you're not going to make it. And the line that they use when they hire me is like, I'm going to be your best client ever.
That's a red flag.
That's the red flag.
Wow.
Because to me, and I'm like, cool, I would love for you to be my best client ever. I would love for you to have like a before and after. But what I've come to realize is that why you're doing it is probably the wrong reason. You're doing it for external validation. You're not doing it for an intrinsic motivation to get yourself healthy, to make yourself feel better, to become a better version of yourself. You're doing it, you're saying, I'm going to be your best client ever. I'm just like, oh, crap. That's like the death knell. I wish you hadn't said that to me. And then for me, I'll automatically be like, no. Like, do this for yourself. I don't care. Like, you're hiring me. Do this for yourself. But when people say that, I'm automatically being like, you're probably doing this for the wrong reason at this very moment.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. We have a little exercise we do at the end of every podcast.
Okay.
You ready?
I think so.
Okay. We give you this card, and on it, you write a little letter to either young Dan, maybe it's 24-year-old Dan, or to the 24-year-old Dan's listening in the audience. What would you tell them? And then you can choose to read whatever you want from that letter afterwards on the podcast. Oh, man. So we're going to just give you a few minutes. We'll step out.
Okay.
And then you think about it. We'll come right back.
And
okay?
this is a message to 24-year-old Dan.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, my gosh.
So what do you want to read to us that you would tell young Dan?
Oh, man. All right. Dear Dan, first off, let's get this out of the way. I love you. I love you regardless if you're a degenerate or a multi-millionaire. But let's be straight up. Right now, you're not living up to your full potential. There is a world awaiting you, but only if you choose to pick yourself up and take responsibility for your life. You are so much more than you are showing right now. Lean into your resistance and trust that there's a plan for you. And this is actually a line my mom would always tell me when I would sit across from her desk. She would sit me down at her conference table. She would have this talk with me every single time I was fucking up. And then the line was, "You can do anything. You can do anything you put your mind to." And it's time to show the world what you can do. I love you. Signed, Dan Go.
Ah,
Yeah.
so beautiful.
Yeah.
Dan Go.
Dan Go. Yeah,
Oh my gosh,
I appreciate it.
I love this. Well, we are going to keep them.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we're going to put them into a book for everybody.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like a little lovely I think sometimes like when we're on stages like this, people think that we're whatever we are.
Yeah.
And even if we're giving advice or telling our stories, like we've been in all the highs and lows between all of us. We're all a mess. So I think it's really a beautiful thing to share.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's something to be said about the people that we see on social media, where it's like we have to understand that we're talking to human beings right here.
100%.
Yeah.
He's super flawed.
Extremely flawed.
Super fucked up and just like trying to human as much as we can.
Yeah. And I think about this often, where it's just like, in the scope and the scale, it varies, but it's just like you're speaking to millions of people and you're also getting the feedback from millions of people.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's like to be a girl. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. But when I look at social media, I'm like, holy shit, women get it way worse than guys do. I'm like, God damn, like, weird especially from stuff. Guys, like, what's up with that? Like, anyways, but
I don't know.
It's a weird game that we're in right now, and I think this is like something that no one has ever navigated in their lives, and I think both of us are doing a pretty damn good job of it. I think you're doing a great job of it as well.
Right back at you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's always good. You know what really helps me is like meeting other people that are online, not for the cloud or for, it's like to text you and Sawhill and some of my other friends when stuff's going sideways and going, hey, did I do something wrong here?
Yeah.
Or is this like being taken away?
Yeah.
You know, should I be changing? Am I presenting myself some way, or do I have to just like ignore the noise? And it's really helpful to have friends that'll tell you straight up, the truth.
Yeah. It's one thing to hear from like your family and be like, hey, don't worry about it, whatever. But that's why this whole creator space, it's such a very intimate space. And a lot of us know each other. A lot of us actually meet each other in person. And it's so beneficial to bounce this stuff off of each other.
1,000%.
And also with like we were talking about some of the book stuff and the things I'm going through with that. It's just so beneficial to talk to someone that understands where that person is coming from, the things that they are going through, the decisions that they have to make in their lives. And yeah, I'm grateful that I'm friends with a lot of the people that I interact with online. So,
same. Yeah, and it does. You really quickly figure out who you're real homies with or not, too, because that's the other one. I always think that I'm friends with everybody. I'm like a golden retriever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wait, we're not friends. You're just charismatic. Whoops.
It's so funny because you probably see this depending on the levels of which you jump across.
Yeah.
So, you're homies with someone when you're like had 100,000 followers on Instagram, and then you hit 1 million, and then that homie's just like, she got too big for her britches, and like all
right.
And it's just like, and for me, I'm like, I still look at that person like, you're my boy, you're my homie, but it's so weird because they kind of like see you as like being different in a sense when you're completely the same person as you were when you were at 100,000. Yep. Values, everything like that. So it's weird to see sometimes.
I know. I totally get it. I remember when I first met Tim Ferriss and like started becoming friendly with him, I didn't understand because I wasn't very big on the internet thing, that whole like not wanting to be public and his essays that he's written on the subject. Yeah. And now after being a little bit public, I'm like, oh, I do get it. It's a huge blessing. Like, oh my God, it's such a huge gift and responsibility. But it also can, if you don't have your head on straight, it can drive you fucking crazy. And you can turn into a psychopath.
So I have this thing where I'm so blessed that I got started late. And I would
Yes.
say like when,
Same.
yeah, it's like maybe you got started at like 35 or something,
Yeah, I
whatever.
think that sounds right.
And it's just like you have the requisite maturity to deal with this stuff.
Yeah.
I can't imagine myself at 20 years old having to deal with this shit.
No, dude, I'd be Justin Bieber today.
Oh,
I'd
for
be
sure.
fucking losing it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually doing pretty good. I'd be
Yeah.
Britney Spears. I'd be like those knife chop. I mean,
Oh my
and it's,
God.
you know, honestly, especially because people kind of forget when you get this much attention that you can get in your own head and also turn yourself into a dick.
Yeah.
You know, and you can be like, everybody's looking. Nobody really cares. They care about for like 30 seconds online.
Yes.
But then you go into the real world and people are mostly only nice.
Yes.
You know, unless you're in politics, then I think people are probably mean.
Yeah.
We're going to stay out of that.
Stay
I'm going
out
to
of
stick
that
with bank
part.
accounts. You stick with bodies.
100%.
And we'll take it from there.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that space, but
No,
but
that would be un-Canadian of you, actually.
Yeah.
You know, aren't you guys
oh
like too
man,
nice?
no, not anymore.
That's actually true. That's actually
yeah,
true.
We don't have that moniker anymore.
Dang it! I know.
Yeah.
I watched that hockey game the other night
Oh, yeah.
where they booed the American flag. French Canadians, though, that's a different breed. I like that crew.
Yeah,
Nick's laughing because he was a hockey player. He knows it's up.
But the thing is, like
we did beat the shit out of you guys then, but then you
Yeah,
came
it
back
is.
and then you beat us next time. So now we're all even and everybody could be cool.
I don't have that sports thing in me, you know, like I don't have that. Oh, you're I just don't, you know. But then at the same time, when the Canadians were booing the Americans, I was just like, oh shit, we got a long way to go, man.
Yeah.
We got a long way to go if this is happening, and you're seeing them as an enemy right now.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, I was just like, it broke my heart when it happened.
Aw.
It did, because I was just like, that's not. I mean, it says so many things
Yeah.
that I am just not in agreement with whatsoever.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. Well, we'll let you hang out in America now still then.
I I was actually telling my family, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna become the 51st state, and they're pretty much like locked into the media scape, and they're like, fuck. I was like, oh shit, okay.
Too soon, stir
Too
in the
soon.
pot.
Yeah. But I'm kind of like, you know,
Would it be the worst thing ever?
I don't think it'd be bad, you know.
Yeah. You know, I think that if we can't make jokes about stuff like this, then we've lost our minds. But I'm sure people will tell us in the YouTube comments whether they liked it.
Oh.
They'll be like, the thing is, that Dan Go, I'm unfollowing him.
Yeah, pretty much.
No way. Your Twitter is, and I'm not saying this just because you're on here, or X, I can't keep calling it that, but is so good.
Thanks.
And I go to it a lot and I think about like the way that Dan phrases this for the body is what I think for the bank account. And then I kind of like try to craft like, I think it really makes me think about things.
Yes.
And so you do a lot more than just talk about health.
Thank you. And for me, it's like there's so many corollaries between the finance and also the fitness.
Mm-hmm.
All of the same principles almost apply.
Yeah.
But then it's just like you have to. It's almost like you tweak them a little bit.
Yeah.
And for me, I guess like when you become so deep in one little area, then you start to see the world in that area. You start to kind of like mold the world and like, okay, so that's why I call it the body dashboard. That's why you have to know your numbers and like all this kind of stuff, because I'm both into entrepreneurship and fitness. So it's like when you get deep into something, then it just becomes this view in which you see the world. And you try to kind of expand that a little bit, but yeah, I try to do my best. I'm not perfect, but you know,
no, it's good stuff, man. Thank you for all the inspiration. You're the man.
I appreciate it. I look up to you, man. I look up to you.
You got a laundromat fetish? Is that what
no, I'm honestly like I do. I look at the way in which you present yourself. I look at the way in which you are actually dealing with conflict. Commendable, very commendable, because I've seen some shit and I'm just like, okay, cool. Like she ignores and, you know, doesn't give this shit energy. Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I look at the rocket ship that you're on and I look at the way in which you are doing things. And it comes from a place where I really do think it's like coming from a place where it's like you have this like black belt knowledge, you know, it's like the black belt, like sensei knowledge. And then you're doing it in a way that's just so educating and entertaining. And I look at your content. I'm just like, okay, cool. Like this is it right here.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Nick, you hear that? Are we proud?
Yes.
He goes,
Great
double
job.
thumbs up.
Great job. No, you guys are doing fantastic work. So,
Oh, you're
yeah.
the man. Dango,
Yeah.
thank you so much for having us.
Thank
Dango
you.
on all the socials.
Yeah, Dango on all socials. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. What do you think the most important question is to ask in a conversation when you want to find the truth?
Oh, I definitely think it's why. In particular, politicians always ask the question twice.
I aspire to be this level of 50 Cent petty. Like, talk to me about what's happening there.
And the things that I've seen, I get it. Don't offend the wrong person. Yeah, that's one of the 48 laws of power. Do not offend the wrong person, because you might have an enemy for life.
So I kind of want to start with the fact that you've interviewed all of these legends for years. And I'm so curious. When you're interviewing big names, one of the most interesting parts for me listening to you is like, you don't let them go easy. Like, you got the hard questions almost always with like a lot of empathy, I think. And context.
Nowadays.
Before you
Nowadays,
did.
more empathy.
Interesting. Back in the day, you went at them?
I wasn't even thinking about it. It was just like, I didn't even look at them as humans, so to speak. I was just, I had a job to do, and I felt like I wanted to ask these questions as a curious person, right? And because, I always want to ask the questions that other people want to know about. And so it's just like, I was going to do that regardless. So I didn't even look at a person as a human. I know that sounds crazy, right? But I really didn't. It was just the subject of an interview. And I didn't think about this person is going to leave here and they might have a whole family or kids, or, they're going to be thinking about, these things later on. Like, so it's just like, I just used to ask the question.
Now, do you think you're nicer? Are you softer?
Yeah, I would hope so. I don't. Yeah, nicer, softer. Like those aren't negative words, right? Like a lot of people like to act like those are negative words in this business. But some of the nicest, most softest people are known as some of the greatest interviewers ever. Like personally, I like the Larry Kings of the world, right? Because they just had an intellectual curiosity. I remember one time Larry King told me, God bless the dead, Larry King said, the most important question you can ask in an interview, Charlamagne, is why? And so that's a simple question, but it does help you to dig, very deep. But then I love the interview style of people like, Barbara Walters as well. It might have came off as, intrusive and aggressive, but she knew that she had a job to do. And if that person is sitting in front of you as just a fan of culture, you have certain questions you're going to ask, but you also know that the people watching have questions they want you to ask. So I think it's a combination of both. So nice isn't a bad intention to approach, an interview with. Like, you can still be nice and still ask the hard-hitting questions.
What do you think the most important question is to ask in a conversation when you want to find the truth?
Oh, I definitely think it's why. And I definitely think when you're, interviewing people, in particular politicians, always ask the question twice. Because when you ask the question, they'll have a prepared answer for it, right? But then when you ask them again and say, but why? Now they really got an answer from the human aspect and not the politician. We sat around with our team and these are the answers we came up with to answer, this question. They really got to answer it. So I think, asking whatever the question is twice, but then when you ask it again, that's when you hit them with but why though?
Interesting. How much do you prep for an interview?
Oh, a lot.
What does that look like?
Like I said, I'm a fan of culture. And when I say culture, I don't just mean entertainment. I mean everything from sports to, politics, because politics is pop culture now, to, spiritualness, mindfulness, like all of these different things. So I'm usually already kind of well versed on whoever it is I'm sitting down talking to. But then, when you're sitting down to have an interview, you just want to see what's really going on, like in that moment, because usually, like, most people have something going on in that moment that you would want to talk about. If it's an author who has a book out, read their book, If it's a person who dropped a movie or a TV show, watch the movie, watch the TV show, just so you can be, well versed on that individual. But I also like the sense of discovery that happens in interviews. So you don't want to be over prepped, right? Because sometimes you'll be talking to a person and you kind of already know where they're going with the conversation. So you might be saying things before they say it. So it's like sometimes I just like the sense of discovery of finding things out, in conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think about it a lot. I mean, you have a giant audience, but I remember it was just a few weeks ago when I realized, wow, one episode, if you consider shorts and YouTube too, is going to get a couple million people to watch it.
Yeah.
And if that means there's 1 million hours spent listening to this moment, it's kind of fucking scary.
I love it.
I better value it.
Yes.
What if we waste their time? What if we give them a bunch of bullshit?
But that's the thing. What you just said, Cody, is absolutely true. But I look at it also from another angle of, and I know this is going to sound dark, but what about when these people die? Like literally, over the last 15 years, I've had conversations with a lot of people who are no longer here. So when I sit down with people, that's what I think about. What if this is this person's last conversation ever? What if it's my last conversation ever? But usually when you're talking to these people, yes, you know what I'm saying? But usually when you're talking to these individuals, these are moments in time that when, this person gets older, they might use for documentaries, or when this person passes away, they might use for documentaries. These are things that that other interviewers are going to reference when they sit down, to have conversations with these individuals. Like, yo, I saw you on, Codie Sanchez show. I saw you on Breakfast Club with Charlamagne, and you said this. So that's another way that I approach those conversations as well.
That's interesting. You seem pretty obsessed with what you do. Are you?
I think you got to be. Yeah. I think you got to be obsessed with, whatever it is that you do to actually have success. If you're not obsessed about something, if you're not obsessed about, being on these microphones, or if LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, God bless the day, Kobe, if they're not obsessed with what they do on the basketball court, if you're a public servant, if you're not obsessed, with, doing the bidding of the people in the streets, right? If you're not obsessed with what it is that you do, then why are you doing it? That's why they call it a passion, that thing that you would do for free. Yes, I'm obsessed with communicating on these microphones, 100%, because I look at myself, like a public servant. And because I know that, I am serving the needs of the public every day, whether it's through making them laugh, whether it's through informing them, whether it's through, having somebody on that's going to say something beneficial to them, that's going to get them, on a path of righteousness with spirituality, or, decide to start going to therapy because, we having conversations about mental health, whatever it is, you got to be obsessed with what it is that you do.
How did you figure out what you were obsessed with, or how did you find this path? I think so many people, and a lot of people listening, they say that I don't know what I'm passionate about, or yeah, maybe I want to have a podcast, or is that just mimetic desire? How does somebody who's totally lost and not sure what they're obsessed in, is there a trick to find what you could become obsessed with?
Man, that is an amazing question. It's a layered question because I can only speak for me, right? When I started off, I was born in 1978. Right. So I started doing radio back in 1998. Right. I started off as an intern in Charleston, South Carolina at Z93 Jams in 1998. And the reason I even, got there is because I was just trying to find something positive to do. Because of the way I was living in the street. And it's so funny that all of the things I would get in trouble for in school, being disruptive, talking too much, being the class clown, all of those things were actual qualities that when I got on the microphone helped me, right? So when I started off doing radio, I started off as an intern in 1998. I didn't get on the air until 1999. I always got to salute my guy, Ron White. He texted me today and said, I think this is one of those times where you're ignoring me. Or you set a boundary with me. And he's right. But salute to my guy, Ron. But he's the first person to ever put me on air, right? Because I was an intern and I worked in the promotions department, so I would drive the van and put posters up and all of that stuff when the actual talent was on, doing their remotes. But then Ron was like, "Yo, have you ever thought about being on the air?" Right? And I'm like, "No, but what's up?" And so they started putting me on the air, and it was literally one of those things that I just knew this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I remember the moment I was in the radio station doing overnights. Overnights is, midnight to 6 a.m, where it just hit me like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. But I don't just want to be a local radio personality, doing the time and temperature, in a city. I want to be a super jock. The super jocks back then were the Tom Joyners, and the Doug Banks, God bless the dead. Salute to my guy, Russ Parr, Howard Stern, Angie Martinez, Wendy Williams. Those are the people you thought about when you thought about like the super jocks. And that's what I wanted to be. And I knew that I wanted to be that since 1999.
Wow. And
I want to add one more thing.
Get in there.
In my first book, Black Privilege, Opportunity Comes to Those Who Create It, New York Times bestseller.
Great book. I read it.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
I have a chapter called Fuck Your Dreams. And the reason I say fuck your dreams is the name of the chapter, but the actual ideology is fuck your dreams if it's not your dream. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we see things working for other people and we say to ourselves, you know what, this is what I should be doing. But that's not what God has planned for you. Mm-hmm. Like God has something destined for you to unlock your greatness, but you got to figure out what that is. Like it's not just because you see everybody with a podcast don't mean that you should have a podcast. Just because you see these people on radio having success doesn't mean that you should, run to be a radio personality. Like, you should, even if you feel called to those spaces, number one, ask yourself why, right? What is your actual intention? If it's I want to make money and I want to be famous, that's not a real intention. What is your actual why to wanting to be in these spaces? And if you do feel called to be in these spaces, explore every aspect of the space. Like right now, we're recording this podcast in this studio. Somebody had to set up these cameras. Somebody had to set up these microphones, right? There's producers that are listening to us talk right now. There's all type of ways to be in this space, be in this business, and not be doing what you and I are doing right now. So that's what I would tell folks. If you do feel called to certain spaces in certain areas, doesn't mean that you're supposed to be Cody. Doesn't mean that you're supposed to be Charlamagne. Figure out what that means and why you're being called.
You talked about wanting to be a super jock, and let's just call that like one of the greatest of your profession. Mm-hmm. What do you think it takes to be the greatest in any profession? Like these days, there's a lot of people that'll say work-life balance matters a lot. Can you have work-life balance on your way up to greatness?
Yes. I might have answered that different some years ago. But yes, you can have work-life balance. I would actually tell people that, in this profession, work-life balance is actually what's probably going to make you have more success. Because for what we do, on these microphones, being able to communicate life in a way that connects with people is what kind of makes people gravitate towards us. So you got to live life in order to be able to do that, right? So when I'm, I just came back from Cape Town, South Africa, and I was there throughout the whole holidays, and it's just interesting to watch people from other countries and how they gravitate towards, somebody from another country just because they've been listening to them, for so long. And one of the things that a lot of the people kept coming up to me saying was, "Thank you for embracing our continent the way that you do. Thank you for having, they were naming different, African talent that has been on the show, whether it's, people like DeVito or Burna Boy or, me being friends with my homegirl DJ Cuppy or Bo Nong. Like they were, my man Casper, I'm gonna mispronounce his last name, so I'm just gonna say Casper. Y'all know who I'm talking about. But they were coming up to me because of the way that I connect with them and how I'm able to communicate my experience as a Black American, appreciating what it is that they do, and bringing them on my platform and having a conversation. So it's just, I think that you got work-life balance matter. Like I'm able to go to South Africa and like experience that place for myself, and then now come back to America and talk to my listeners who may never have been to South Africa. I've had the pleasure of being, going to Johannesburg and Cape Town. And that might make more people want to go to Cape Town and Johannesburg just listening to me communicate my experiences there. So yeah, I think you gotta have work-life balance because you have to live life. right? And not even just in this profession, just in general. Like, do yourself a favor and go live some life. You got 168 hours in a week. You know how much time that is? Like 168 hours. You should have more than enough time to do what it is you got to do as far as your living in your career is concerned, but also go out there and just have some time for yourself and your family.
You know what I think we should talk about that we talked about before? We were talking about time.
Mm-hmm.
And I said a line like, we ought to be done at this time. I worry about not respecting people in time. I'm married to a military man. So he really associates lateness or extension with disrespect, which is kind of like a military mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'm going to make sure we're out on time. And you had like a really interesting take on a book you had read in 2 different types of time.
Yeah, it's this book that I love to read. It's called The Big Leap. Like I read it, often. But it's written by Gay Hendricks, and he talks about Newtonian time and Einstein time. And Einstein time, if I'm saying it correctly, Einstein time is basically us realizing that we create time. Now, I do agree you should respect, people's time. But when we say things like, I don't have the time for that. Yes, you do. You just don't want to do it. And you're using time as the scapegoat. And the example he uses is like your kid might walk in and your kid might ask you to play. And you'd be like, I don't have time for that right now. But if your kid walked in and your kid was, cut and bleeding, you would stop everything and you would have the time to do whatever it is to make your child stop bleeding and stop feeling that pain. And so it's just the way we look at, what time is, instead of treating time like it's something that's out of our control, or we're a victim to it. No, you have all the time that you create.
So do you not say the words, I don't have time? Do you replace it with something?
That's why I constantly read books, the same book over and over, right? When I'm really into a book, I read it over and over because you want to constantly try to practice these things that you are learning in that book. But yeah, there's no such thing as not having time. The other saying that we always say is you make time for what you want to make time for. So instead of saying, I don't have time, I don't want to right now. Like, it's like somebody comes to me right now and is like, hey, man, I would really love if you would be at such and such, blah, blah, blah. Let me talk to my assistant so I can check my schedule and see if I can squeeze it. You don't really want to do it. Because things that you actually want to do, oh my God, I'm there. Like, let's figure it out. Like, then that's when you hit your team and like, this person wants me to do X, Y, and Z, be X, Y, and Z. Let's figure it out. And I think that's actually what it is. Instead of saying I don't have time, to be like, I don't want to. That's this year right here is all about the no.
Wow.
Like that's really a boundary that I think that we are just afraid to set a lot. Like we're afraid to tell people no because all of us are people pleasers, in different ways. And we all want that validation from other humans. And we hate telling other humans no because we feel like if we tell them no, then they're not going to look at us the same, or they're not going to respect us the same, or they're not going to, speak of us in a positive way. There's nothing wrong with telling somebody, no, I don't want to right now.
Well, it's good that you say that because I think, if I was to just watch you on the internet, I might not think Charlamagne the people pleaser. That's probably not like one of the things I would label you, know? And so I think people would say, no, he probably sets pretty firm boundaries. I bet he's really good at that. But is that even something that you've struggled with? Saying,
oh, absolutely. I've been a people pleaser for a long time. And I mean, people pleasing doesn't always look like just allowing people to do whatever it is they want, you to do. Sometimes people pleasing looks like being overly aggressive in an interview. You know what I'm saying? Bombarding somebody with questions because you're worried about what the people watching are going to say about you. If you got a reputation, right, as this hard-hitting question asker, then you feel like you got to ask the hard-hitting questions. That's people pleasing. If you're doing it because you're worried about how other people are going to take it, how other people are going to consider it, how other people are going to view it, that is people pleasing.
It's interesting because you've been at this game a long time and you've had, people hating on you for things. You've had people loving on you for things. You've had some of the same people who used to love you, hate you for things multiple times,
That's right.
And so I'm curious to you, like, what do you do to stop caring about the haters? Like, what do you do when you're getting backlash? Everybody seems to be talking shit. Nobody likes you. How do you deal with that?
You just genuinely gotta not give a fuck. And I have two people in my life that gave me great pieces of advice that I always reference, even if, at times I didn't always feel what they were saying. Like I didn't apply it, right? My man Cadillac Jack, who along with my guy G-Spin put together the Breakfast Club. Cadillac Jack told me early on in the Breakfast Club, I need you to remember the rule of 10. What's the rule of 10? The rule of 10 is 3 people gonna like you, 3 people not gonna like you, 4 people don't even know what the fuck's going on. And that is very true in life. Like that is just the absolute truth. Like we are so concerned about what everybody thinks, and we think everybody is paying attention to us. 4 people don't even know what the hell is going on. And then the 3 people that like you, they gonna like you no matter what. The 3 people that don't like you, they not gonna like you no matter what. But guess what? The algorithm don't know the difference. So when the 3 people that like you are talking about you, great. When the 3 people that don't like you are talking about you, great. Your name is just all throughout the algorithm. My daddy used to always say to me, you're never as good as they say you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are. That one, I've always understood. I've always been like right in the middle with that. And I mean, that's really just life, right? Like you have to be a very egotistical, narcissistic person to think that everybody likes you and to think that everybody's thinking about you, right? Like there is nobody on this planet, forget humans, there is nothing on this planet that everybody universally loves, not even God. Like, no, I want you to just think about that for a second. There is nothing, not even puppies, not ice cream, some of the purest things that you can think about. There is nothing on this planet that everybody universally loves. So for me, hey man, I'm just happy I make you feel something. I really genuinely feel that. I'm just happy I make you feel something, because I would rather be, thought of in some way than to not be thought about at all.
This is a secret nobody shares. I've done thousands of deals, but until now, I've never shared the most valuable 10% publicly because I want to buy these businesses myself. Then I realized that if you guys buy the businesses, I get to do the deals with you. So this year at Main Street Millionaire Live, it is your chance to see our insider strategies. I'll teach you how we find, buy, and scale a business step by step with the frameworks that I literally use to buy all these businesses. So if you want to go from an aspiring owner to someone actually running a profitable business, join me. I'll give you my blueprint. Then maybe we end up doing deals together.
You had this conversation with 50 Cent before he put out the documentary, and you had you basically were prescient about what was happening in the world. And now, I mean, it's not really therapy for 50, but watching him hold this level of revenge am I a sick person that I watch it and the memes that are I aspire to have this level of revenge that 50 Cent has.
Yeah.
I mean,
50 is a Cancer. I'm a Cancer. So I understand 50's level of petty.
You do?
I completely understand 50's level of petty. Plus, I'm privy to a lot of the whole backstory between him and somebody like Diddy. So I get it. People and it's funny. 50 is such an interesting person to me, and I've been having these conversations about 50 for years. I remember it started with, a long time ago, a couple of executives in the business was talking to me about 50, and they was like, why does he always got to go after Urban Ja? Why can't he just finally, God bless the dead, why can't he just let it go? I'm like, he got shot 9 times. They've had fist fights. He got stabbed by them. You wouldn't really let that go either. That's not something you could just, I don't even think a therapist could tell you just to let that go. And they were like, you know what? You're right. You know what I'm saying? So there's always, and I remember 50 said this one time. 50 was like, people always see when I punch, but they don't see when the person swung at me first.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying everything, he does is justified, because I really don't know. But from the things that I've seen, I get it. I completely, understand it. And that's why you got to just be, don't offend the wrong person.
True.
Yeah, that's one of the 48 laws of power. Do not offend the wrong person, because you might have an enemy for life.
Dude, I would never want to, like 50, like just cut the podcast, edit it out.
And honestly, man, sometimes that is therapeutic within itself. Yeah. Like, just saying fuck a person. I don't fuck with you. Like, who says we have to fuck with people?
Yeah, I know.
Like, who says that? Like, we talk about that statement, money is the root of all evil. Who told us that we gotta forgive everybody? Who told us that, we gotta love everybody? Like, who said that? Like, nah, sometimes it's fuck this person, and it's fuck this person for life, and I don't fuck with them. And people be like, man, you exhausting too much energy on that individual. Says who? Yeah, right. And what if I want to exhaust this energy on this individual? Like, what if I want, to do exactly what it is that I'm doing, and it makes me happy to do it? Who am I to tell that person that they're wrong? And by the way, whatever energy comes back to you from doing that, he got to deal with that. And I think he's fully aware.
Yeah.
I think he's fully aware of it, and it does not bother him in any way, shape, or form. And there's a certain level of freedom that I admire. Yeah. It is.
That smile when he does.
It's a certain, and by the way, I've had these conversations with him, like,
have you?
On air, off air, because I've been there. He's one of the most interesting, people to me, just because he's a Cancer, and there's a lot of things that I relate to.
And he seems like a smart motherfucker.
Oh, he's brilliant. Like, you don't come out of South Side Jamaica, Queens, and achieve the things that he's achieved. Achieved things, lost things, got him back triple, and not even having success in multiple industries. That's what he don't get enough credit for. Yeah, he did his thing in music, but he went from an artist, started his own label, had successful artists under his label. Like, I'm glad we're having this conversation as well. But he's another person that I really look at, as a blueprint, because that's what you're supposed to do. And I remember, he says things that I remember. He said, I'm a general with G Unit, but I'm a soldier when I'm with Eminem and Dr. Dre. That right there is a jewel, because I hate when people say things like, yeah, but you work for a corporation, and I also own a lot of things on my as well. So what's the problem? Like, you can do both. And to watch him go from a talent, right, to starting his own record label, to having 4 or 5 successful artists, then having success with clothing, having success with a sneaker, then now in television and film. Do you know how hard that is?
Cannot imagine.
This guy has multiple franchises of various TV shows.
Yeah. And he lost it. That's the part that I think, like, coming back, like the mental fortitude to lose it, to be in bankruptcy. Like, you can make it. You can make it.
Absolutely.
But to lose it and get it back.
And to get it back.
Oof.
Yeah. And to and to remain himself throughout it all.
Yeah.
I actually think sometimes he does that just to remind himself, I'm still me. Let me jump. I be feeling that sometimes, like, let me find somebody to really go at it with right now, just to remind myself I'm still me. Like, I don't know. I got a lot of respect and
I'm going to clip this out. And every time somebody talks shit, I'm going to re-listen to you. And I'm going to remember this.
But listen, don't listen to me, though, because I'm a Cancer. And I'm still dealing with my own stuff, too. So but
I can't hold revenge. I think it's a little healthy to be able to keep, like, a little bit of that edge.
Yeah. And I like
let it go.
And I like anti-heroes.
Oh, yeah.
That's my thing, too. I like anti.
Do you have one? Do you have, like, a Diddy, like 50 has one?
Do
you have one that you're like, yeah, fuck that guy right now. I won't say his name, but Dan.
Yeah, but I already won.
Oh, shoot. You
I won several. I done won several. I've had a few, but I've won. So it's like, it's not the same. You know what I mean? There's nobody I really want to, like, stomp on them while they die. And probably, you know what? Probably I've never had one to that level. I probably never had one to that level. I've never had nobody try to, like, physically, like, well, I'm lying. I have had people send people to physically harm me, but it's not like a punch in the face. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like a shooting or a stabbing or anything like that. So, yeah. But when I say I like anti-heroes, I like the Batmans of the world. I like the, Tony Starks, the Deadpools, the Wolverines. You know what I mean? I like those type of anti-heroes. I'm the guy that, I root for the villain in movies sometimes, and to me, like, 50 is the ultimate hip hop anti-hero.
What about you? You know, you've been doing Breakfast Club for many years now.
15.
You've been online for, how long have you been online before Breakfast? Now we're going to tell everybody how old you are, basically.
No, let me see. I mean, well, there's two different types. I'm old enough to remember that there's two different types of online, right?
What was the first type?
Because there was the MySpaces.
Oh, fuck, I remember that.
You know what I'm saying?
Like the square people. And
That's
you got
right.
upset.
So there was the MySpaces. There was the Black Planets, but those weren't necessarily social media. Like you might be in a forum or a chat room, I forgot what they used to call them, chat rooms or something back then. But yeah, I remember Twitter. I remember when I got on Twitter so early, I didn't even know that people replied to you. I remember when somebody said, you got to check your apps. I think it might have been Little Duval or somebody I was talking to. And I'm like, I don't really like Twitter, man. You just be on there, like you just be on there talking to yourself. And he was like, what do you mean you be on there talking to yourself? I'm like, I post stuff, but it's just there. And he was like, man, you got to check your ads. I'm like, the ads? And then that's when you clicked on your ads and you started seeing everybody atting you. And you're like, oh,
But you're like, I
okay.
wish I never knew that existed.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it some days.
I stopped going on Twitter in like 2018, 2019. But
healthy.
we got on, I think I got on Twitter in like 07, 08 maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, that place is a little wild.
Oh, it's not good for my mental health in no way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But you got to know that though. We're all in verbally abusive relationships with our smartphones. Why would you go to a place where somebody's constantly telling you that you ain't shit? If you were married to a person like that, you wouldn't stick around in that relationship. If you were at a job and you had a boss talking to you like that, I don't think you would stick around in that relationship. So why do we do that with social media? Like, you know, and I'm not, forget just the block features and the unfollowing folks. I'd rather not even go over there. Like, you know, I'm a stern believer in if somebody be like, hey man, why don't you come over to the house? Or, you know, we having this party, or we having a cookout. Who all over there? If they say the wrong people and the wrong energy, you not going. So why do we take our monkey asses over to social media, especially Twitter? Like, I don't want to be, I have no place, I have no desire to be over there.
That's really smart. A little social cleanse.
I have not been on this since 2018.
What about, like, you've probably changed a lot since 2018. Like, I imagine 15 years online. Are there some things that you have said before, like back in the day, you're like, this is true, I believe it with all of my being, and now, fuck, I was wrong.
I remember talking to Malcolm Gladwell one time, and Malcolm Gladwell said to me, you know, there's a lot of things that I wrote in books like The Outliers that I don't necessarily believe anymore.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh my God, like that kind of threw me for a loop. But then I had to think to myself, like, just because he wrote it in that book and he has maybe evolved and, you know, learned a lot more information and it's taken him someplace else, doesn't mean that somebody else isn't going to pick up that book right now and it's going to meet them where they are.
Do you think about your books that way? Like, when I was going back through and I hadn't read one, I didn't realize you had multiple books. And so when when I went back and I was reading, so I had read Black Privilege. And then when I went through and I was looking at Get Honest or Die Lying.
Yep, that's my last one, my third one. Yep.
I didn't realize that you had such a focus on mental health. And I don't know why. I guess I had seen Breakfast Club and I'd thought of your persona a lot there. But I like asking you these questions because when I think about the person who's listening here, I'm always thinking about them, maybe a little less than the guest. Like, what does Charlemagne have that I feel like every human listening is just gonna it's gonna blow their mind this week and it's gonna help their life somehow. And that's kind of how I think about you. It's like you have this amazing career, but it's mostly like, what do you got that they need? You know? And when I think about your career in particular, there's a couple ways I want to go with it that I think could be really helpful with people. One, conversations, we're having less of them. You have them deeply. And even with people you don't, well, I don't know if you don't like them or not, but maybe you don't agree with everything. Maybe you sometimes don't like them. And I guess one of the questions I have for you is like, what do you do when you have a conversation with somebody you don't like or agree with?
You just agree to disagree. Like, I don't think, I don't know if there's too many people I've had conversations with who I don't like because I don't know them personally not to like them. Yeah, I may not like their ideologies. I may not like, you know, some of their worldviews, but I don't know them personally to not like them. And I mean, that's what conversation is for. And just because you have a conversation with a person doesn't mean you're going to end up liking them at the end of the conversation. But I feel like as human beings, we should, you know, respect each other enough to discuss. And even if we discuss and debate and, argue and, we might even get to yelling in an interview. But I think that's just what happens when you are having a real, healthy, honest conversation with somebody. So I think this is our job. Like, I'm a radio personality. I'm a podcast person. I'm a media personality, right? Just like you're a media personality. If I choose to invite you into my space and have a conversation with you, it is ridiculous to just then say, you know what, I'm going to slam dunk on this person. I'm inviting this person in my space just to slam dunk on them. If you get dunked on in the midst of the conversation, that's different. But I invited you for a conversation. So have the conversation and see where it goes.
Do you get a lot of comments online like, why are you having this person on?
All the time.
All the time. What do you say to the people who won't have a conversation with somebody? Like, what if somebody's listening right now, and this happens around the holidays, probably good timing for it. They're like, I'm not fucking going home because Aunt Becky loves insert one political party, and I don't want to talk to them.
I think that's the most ridiculous thing in the world. And the reason I think that's the most ridiculous thing in the world, because, politics are very fleeting, right? In the next few years, hopefully, right, if we still have free and fair elections, they'll be electing, somebody else, and there'll be a lot of damage done because of the current administration, but the way people felt will kind of be a thing of the past, right? Maybe. Maya Angelou said that, people will forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, they'll never forget how you made them feel. So maybe people will forget about it. But man, I've been alive long enough to have seen how this goes, before. And I mean, that's your family member. Don't blame who's in the White House on you not wanting to talk to your family member. You never liked this person to begin with. Like, cut it out. Like, because if you could just cut me off or cut somebody off based on who they voted for, you never really liked that person. This goes back to what we were saying about time. Don't blame time for you not wanting to do something. You don't like this individual. You never really did, and now you feel like you got a valid excuse to not talk to that person anymore. And I feel like, when it comes to just us as media personalities, listen, I've seen media personalities, say, I don't know why, Charlamagne talks to these kind of people, or why the Breakfast Club talks to these kind of people. They don't say that to anybody else but us. Like, they don't say that to Jake Tapper. Right? Historically, they didn't say that to people like, Diane Sawyer, Barbara Walters, Oprah Winfrey. I grew up in the era of watching Donahue have the Grand Wizard of the KKK on. Yeah. Right? And I grew up in the era of, Donahue would host, not just Donahue, everybody would talk to people that they didn't necessarily agree with. Right? Nobody said anything back then. So why is it such a thing now? And I would tell all of these media personalities, when you say things like, man, I would have never done that. That's why you're not me. That's just the reality of the situation. That's why you're not me. So don't ask yourself why you don't get the things that I get, per se. Yeah. Because you don't do the things that I do. I have no problem sitting down having conversations with people that I may not agree with. But that's just because of the great personalities that I saw before me. They were doing the same thing. They used to do specials where they would go talk to Charles Manson while he was in prison. They talked to Jeffrey Dahmer. He ate people. Like, and you're not going to talk to somebody just because they got a different
Republican.
A Republican? That's crazy. That's crazy to me. I'm also old enough to remember when people hated guys like George W. Bush. Now everybody loves George, but they love watching George Bush with Michelle Obama, and it's so cute, such a great relationship. I remember when y'all were calling George Bush the Antichrist.
Oh, sure. Well, or if you go back to history, Democrats were actually Republicans. Republicans were actually Democrats. Like the whole party, they've changed back and forth.
They had different ideologies at the time, though. So
totally. But it's kind of wild to see, what used to be a Democrat today was a Republican at one point, and vice versa. It's like we put these hard lines on it. But it's a really interesting point because you're right. I actually went to journalism school. I always wanted to be a journalist. I ended up in business and finance for all these other reasons. I guess we've come back. But I used to love Walter Cronkite for that reason.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time where you would want to get that interview. Like, we saw freaking Barbara Walters went and spoke to Fidel Castro. Like those were the type of things that we constantly saw the greats do. So who are we to be like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Nah, that's so if not you, who? And why not talk to that person and ask that person the questions that, the world may want to know?
I want to talk a little bit about like the business side for a second. One, congratulations. Amazing news recently on a huge deal you did. It's so cool.
Thank you. Re-signed with iHeartMedia.
Yeah. And I think like, not even to get into details on that, but like, it's really cool to see somebody do an incredible deal and do a re-signing and have it go really public and have it be in this new age of media, which is, I think typically deals like that, you had to be with CNN or CNBC or some huge network. And now this is kind of you, you could move Breakfast Club, Charlemagne, anywhere, and you're the network now. So it's really cool to see. Congratulations.
Yeah, and I mean, even salute to iHeart. I've been with iHeart for 15 years. Started off as a talent, then became a partner when I created the Black Effect Podcast Network, which is, by far the largest podcast network, for Black podcasts. I think right now we got like 50 to 60 podcasts but we wanted to create a space that was specifically for Black podcasters because that didn't exist. Like, I'm the type of person, I like to look around the marketplace and, see what's missing from the marketplace. And that was something that was missing to me. Yeah. I loved what Bill Simmons was doing with The Ringer. I loved, watching what they were doing with Smartless. I loved watching what they were doing with Gimlet. But I saw a lot of these Black creators who were doing two things, right? They were putting their podcast out, but it was like video first. So their videos were getting like tremendous views, but the audio wasn't necessarily reflecting that.
Yeah, that's hard to grow.
We all know that the money is in the audio. Yeah. So I was like, man, what if we created this network, got these individuals who already have these, podcasts, put us, all under one umbrella and use iHeart sales team to really, really pump their audio because iHeart is the biggest, conglomerate when it comes to audio. Nobody does audio better than iHeart. I'm not saying that because I work with them. I'm saying that because it's the truth, right? So radio, podcasting, nobody does audio better than iHeart. And man, if I could show y'all the data of some of these podcasts who had these big video numbers, but the audio numbers weren't necessarily matching the video, and how when they partnered with Black Effect and iHeart, how we were able to get those audio numbers booming to the point where we're at like 11 million, 12 million audio downloads a month. Wow. And that makes, Black Effect, one of the biggest podcast networks out there. Like that's very rare air to be, have a network getting 11 million, 12 million audio downloads a month. And, things like that is what makes you a lot more valuable to, whatever company you're with.
What's interesting, I kind of want to talk about that for a second. I don't know about you, but I had a long period and I'm thinking through it right now, but where I'm Latina and a chick, and it always bothered me when somebody would reach out to me and say like, hey, we want to talk to you. You're a female CEO. We'd love to have a female CEO come speak about XYZ. Or like, you're a Latina CEO. Come speak. And I kind of would be like, one, if it was female CEO, I'd be like, I don't know what my vagina has to do with it. Like, I'm just in charge of this business. And I happen to have that anatomy, And I remember I did write that in one email. And then one of my execs was like, maybe we could not do that. But I kind of like took it personal. I had a little chip on my shoulder. Maybe I have less of one now, but I'm curious for you, like when people say like, Charlemagne, Black CEO, come speak. Like, are you like, yeah, fuck yeah, because I represent all these people? Or are you like, who cares? I'm a CEO. I just happen to be Black. Like, how do you think about that?
That's a great question. I don't, when I pull up the Chick-fil-A, it don't bother me that, they specialize in chicken sandwiches. I'm pulling up to Chick-fil-A because they specialize in chicken sandwiches, or if I want to go to, pizza, if I want pizza that night, I'm not going to go to a burger spot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, for me, it don't bother me because we are unicorns, because we can't sit here and act like we don't understand the country that we live in. We live in the country called America. America is, a country that was founded on white supremacy. Like, just call it what it is, right? So like, that is what people think of when they think of America. That's what they've always presented to us, right? Like a white man So I don't have a problem being a quote unquote unicorn in this space. If you are a woman CEO who's done great things, hey, sadly, we live in a country that doesn't think women can do amazing things. Like, this is a country that, just gave women the right to vote in our lifetime, right? So how they kind of already perceive women. So when they look at you as a woman CEO, they're looking at you like, damn, I can't believe she did all. I can't believe she got that done. Why? Because you're a woman. Same thing with a black person. Why? I can't believe that a black person could achieve those kind of things because of all of the things that this country has thrown at us historically. So things like that do not bother me. If you want me to come out here and be the bearded woman at the circus, or like, I don't have no problem with that. Because I feel like, by the time I sit down with you and have a conversation, you're going to say to yourself, I understand why that person is in the position that they're in.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think culture and race I don't think about it as much now because I'm like a little bit of a spreadsheet nerd. But, as I've gotten on the internet more, and then people, of course, they notice you. They're like, yeah, he's black. And yeah, she's a chick. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess that's part of the equation.
Yeah,
whatever.
You're stating obvious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like, all right. But then I realized, man, actually there was a bunch of stuff when I was growing up that we didn't actually do that I think hurt us monetarily and hurt, and by us, I guess I mean women or Latinos in this instance. Like when I was growing up, how they say you don't talk about sex, religion, politics?
Politics, yeah.
For Latinos, religion's cool. Jesus is all around. Like everybody can talk about Jesus. But you don't talk about sex, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about money. Like money's like, nobody talks about that as a Latino. And I think for that reason, it was harder for me to make money, like growing up, like because I was like, no, we don't talk about it. It's not good. It's private. Rich people kind of suck because you had to be bad to get it. And so I had all these ingrained narratives. And I'm curious, and like in black culture, is it similar at all? Can you talk about money in the same way? Are there like things that hold black people back monetarily that you're like, why the fuck do we do that and don't do that anymore?
That's a great question. I don't like to answer questions on behalf of the whole black race because black people are not monolithic. Yep. And, there's a lot of black people who don't like me. So I don't want them to think that I'm speaking. Nope. I'm speaking for them. But from my perspective, yeah, a lot of conversations like financial literacy did not happen, in the black community. Like at least in my community. I don't want to say in the black community, at least in my circumference. Like, my father was definitely an entrepreneur, right? Like my father, he owned a fish market when I was young. So I would be there hanging out, working. My father also did construction. So he was an entrepreneur, even though he did work for a construction company for a period of time. But for the most part, all the money he made was, doing things independently. So that was always kind of my mindset. But nobody taught me about, taxes and, high yield savings accounts and stocks. Like I didn't learn about any of that stuff till I got in my late 30s, early 40s. I think the not talking about money thing is interesting though, because of course none of us wanted to be broke, right? That's what led, guys like me to start selling dope, right? Because, you don't want to be broke, but money was never my motivation, ever. A lot of the times, even when I started, selling dope, I was just doing that because the people around me were doing it. And, you would get clowned for being broke, but I never needed money to really get anything that y'all got. Like a lot of times these guys are, trying to get money to impress women and things like that. I wasn't the best looking, but I could hold a really good conversation. I could make you laugh. Like there,
check.
You know what I mean? There was a lot. The girls that y'all was, trying to get, I was getting just being my natural broke self, right? So it's like money was never my motivation. What was my motivation was wanting to realize my full potential as a person on this planet.
Even when you were younger, you were
even
never
when I was
scared
younger,
about being broke or not having money? That wasn't part of your equation. Were you religious when you were young?
Yeah, I grew up, my mother was a Jehovah's Witness. My mother was a Jehovah's Witness. My grandmother was a Baptist. My father was a Jehovah's Witness too till he got this fellowship. And then, he started studying Islam. So I was getting hit from all different angles. I had my grandmother who was a Baptist. My mother was a Jehovah's Witness. So, my father who was studying Islam. So I was reading Watchtowers, Awakes, the autobiography of Malcolm X. Like I had it all. But there was different things that motivated me to want to be successful. Like when I heard Biggie Smalls say, being broke at 30 give a brother the chills. Like, right? Or when TLC made No Scrubs. I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy sitting in his best friend's ride, you know, on the passenger side, trying to holler at me. All of the, or when Outkast and Goody Mob made, I want to get up. You need to get up, get out and get something. Don't let the days of your life pass by. You need to get up, get out and get something. You know, don't spend all your days getting high because, you know, you and I got to do for you and I. When you hear that, that's not necessarily about money. That's just about, brother, you know, get up and do something with your life, figure it out. And even back then, man, I had no problem. I thought about going in the military. You know, there was a time I wanted to work at UPS because, you know, I had an uncle who worked at UPS. Like, and same thing with the military. I had my mother's first cousin, his name was Bruce. He was in the military. So I was just looking at all of these different things that could potentially get me off this dirt road in Moncks Corner, South Carolina. It wasn't necessarily always entertainment. Like, I had no problem living what people call the so-called American dream. Like, you just figure out something, you know, that can make you some money to be able to afford a nice place to stay, have some food on the table. And if you want to have a family one day, you can do that. But, you know, it wasn't necessarily, I want to be rich. I want to be famous. I want to be this, you know, multi-millionaire. You know, it wasn't necessarily that. Like, I just wanted to not waste the life that God gave me on this planet.
Yeah, it's true. You have talked a lot about God on your podcast, in your books, here. What is your relationship with God? And like, how do you use that in your day-to-day?
Man, I'm only sitting here because of God. You know, whatever you want to call him, Jehovah, you know, Allah, you know, Jesus Christ. Like, I'm literally in this position that I'm in right now because from the time that I can remember, from day one, there was a higher power, you know, guiding me. I know we talk about having like praying grandmothers and, you know, praying mothers. I really, really had that. Like, I was a kid going to field service every Saturday morning, right? So, you know, as long as I can remember, I've been a praying person, and not just, you know, praying and asking God for guidance and direction, and like literally feeling that presence of a higher power with me. That higher power literally guiding me and directing me and telling me to go do X, Y, and Z. Go do this, go do that. Like, literally. And, you know, it was the times where I didn't listen to that voice the way I should have, you know, that caused, you know, so-called negative things to happen to me. And the reason I say so-called negative things is because I feel like everything is just a part of this process called life, right? The so-called good, the so-called bad, everything that happens to you while we're living this thing called life is just part of the process that led you and I to both be sitting here, you know, in this moment. But I just feel like the whole way through, it's just been God. And I mean, I remember last year, I said to God, I was praying, meditating, and I said to God, God, I am ready for every single thing you have planned for me on this planet. I said, I want it all. And I know people might hear that and they might think, you know, monetary things are just the good things that come with success. No, I want to experience every single thing that God wants me to experience on this planet. Because I truly believe that. I truly believe that, you know, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. So I don't care what it is. I take good news, so-called good news, the same way I take so-called bad news. Because it's just like, all right, well, what God got planned for me next? Like, you know, even today, you might get some news from a business perspective and you like, I didn't want that to happen, but God clearly has something else planned. So I'm open for it.
So interesting. I have this line. I guess I was raised similar to, I was raised with a lot of religious influence. It didn't permeate, or it did negatively at some point, and I felt like I had to break that. I became sort of an agnostic, atheist. Then I came back to faith. But there's a line that I always think of by this. She was actually a feminist back in the day, Emma Bombeck, and she has this line that I love, which is, she says, "When I stand before God at the end of my days, I hope to be able to say, I have not one drop left. I used every single thing that you gave me."
Yes.
And it every time I'm struggling, I think about that.
Yes.
And I was wondering for you, you're such a man of you read, multiple books a week and many a month, and you're such a man, like you remember all these quotes. Are there quotes that you live by that you like when your faith is struggling that you repeat in your head?
Yeah, I got two, and these are ones that I actually made up. I deal with really bad panic attacks, right? Like I've got a handle on them, in my more recent years. But like when I was young, I used to deal with like these really severe panic attacks, and when I didn't know what they were, when I didn't know that I was having actual panic attacks, I would always repeat this mantra. I would say, I love Jehovah God and his son, Jesus Christ. I love Jehovah God and his son, Jesus Christ. I love Jehovah God and his son, Jesus Christ. Fuck Satan, fuck Satan, fuck Satan. So I would say, I love Jehovah God and his son, Jesus Christ 3 times, and I would say, fuck Satan 3 times. And the reason I would do that is because, when you read in the Bible, in the book of Job, Job's wife kept telling Job, hey, curse God and die, right? Why don't you just curse God and die? So I used to always be like, why would I curse God? Like I'm not gonna ever curse God and die. So let me just curse Satan, because I feel like this what I now know to be anxiety, this panic attack, is him. So I would say, I love Jehovah God and his son Jesus Christ. Fuck Satan. And I can't even front. It would bring me back to center in a real way. I mean, now when I've done a lot more work on myself, so I do meditation and things like that. So I understand mantras, right? Like you understand the mantra when you're counting your beads, when you're meditating. You understand how that can bring you back to center. I was doing that back then and didn't even know it. And my other motto that I always say is yo, keep God first, stay humble, keep working. Anything that happens in my life, I say keep God first, stay humble, keep working. And I'm glad we're having this conversation because, one thing I've realized over the last few weeks, because, we're taping this like the first week of January, right? Yep. I've watched a lot of people, like when certain things happen, when certain, like you just talked about, my new deal with iHeart. I've watched a lot of people have conversations about that. And man, it really makes me realize how much people don't believe in God and hard work.
Yeah, isn't that true?
Because anytime you get to a certain level of success, they think that you had to get there by some nefarious means. They think that you got to be in the Illuminati, you busting it open on the casting couch. Men and women, by the way. It ain't just women that they think. It ain't just women they think is busting it open on the casting couch. Men and women they think is busting it open on the casting couch. And it just makes me realize how many people don't believe in God and hard work. Because if you believed in God and hard work, you wouldn't look at somebody else and just say, they only got that because they did some bullshit. You would say, man, I've been watching that person for decades now. I've been doing radio for 28 years, like literally 28 years. Even if you don't count South Carolina, if you've been watching me from the time I started with Wendy, it's been 20 years. You've been watching that person for 20 years. You've literally watched that person grow. You watched them evolve. You watched ups. You watched downs. You watched them go through fire. You watched all of these different things. But the one thing you can't say is that person wasn't consistent and that person wasn't working hard. And then when that person, achieves something, you want to attribute it. You want to give the devil credit for that?
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to give God and hard work any credit whatsoever. So what happens when you achieve a tremendous level of success? Yeah. Should we just say, oh, that person only got that because of Satan? That person only got that because they were busting it open on the casting couch? I don't even think people understand the narratives they create that will eventually come back and bite them in the ass as well. So yes, I give God all praises, and I am only here because God has been guiding me all of these years.
It's so true. I remember one of my early mentors said to me, if you hate rich people, then how do you think you're ever going to be rich? Mm-hmm. And I never hated. I'm not really a hateful kind of person. Sometimes I wish. Like Sierra was here the other week on a podcast. I was like, what do you do, when you have a hater? And she's a woman of faith. She's incredible. I've really come to respect her a lot. And she had such a good line. She's like, I give it up to God. I don't worry about it. But she's like, I'd be keeping receipts though, And she's like, I'd be keeping some names. And I was like, I love that line. Like I remember, I like forgive. I'll remember though. But I think what happens with a lot of us is like, isn't it weird how we're wired from being young? Like sometimes I'll be on a stage in a business thing and I'll say to the audience, blank is the root of all evil. What's the root of all evil? And they'll just respond, money.
Yeah.
When did we learn that? It's not actually that in the Bible. It is the love of money is the root of all evil. But like, how are we programmed to think that? And so that's when I start realizing maybe it's not always their fault. Like the people who hate on you with this iHeartMedia deal, I almost, it like hurts my heart a little bit. I'm like, I know right where you are. It's that you still think that money is the root of all evil, and you've never questioned why that programming is in your brain, and you don't know where it came from.
Oh, I know. I mean, I know where it came from.
Where do you think?
It came from being broke. Like when you broke, you're going to be disgruntled. When you're broke, you're going to be upset about that, and you're going to say things like money is the root of all evil. People will say things to justify why they're not in the position that they want to be in. But man, I'm be honest. I know this is gonna sound crazy. I genuinely, truly don't care about money. I care about being happy. I tell folks all the time, man, what is success? Success is you're doing whatever it is that you want to do and it makes you happy.
Yeah.
I know people right now that, are making tens of millions of dollars and they hate their jobs or they hate, what it is that they're doing. So is that actually success? I know people who are in South Carolina right now making $75,000 a year, $100,000 a year, but they got a roof over their head. They got food on the table. They can take a vacation every now and then when they want to, and they are genuinely happy.
Yep.
Success should be rooted in happiness, not in a monetary amount of, like this should just be rooted in, are you happy doing what it is that you're doing? I am happy doing what it is that I'm doing. I love what it is that I do. I love waking up in the morning to go do morning radio. This is literally what I used to pray for and what I used to dream about. When I was in, Charleston, South Carolina at Z93 Jams in 1999, I was praying for times like this. I wanted to be the super jock. You heard the people I named prior, the Tom Joyners, the Doug Bates, like those were the nationally syndicated radio personalities that a whole generation was listening to. I love being in the middle of one of my unanswered prayers.
Oof.
So there's no dollar amount that can make me any more happier than I already have been. I'm in the Radio Hall of Fame. I'm literally in the Radio Hall of Fame. I've been successful and happy, not because of any money, but because I chose to do something and, God allowed me the wherewithal and the skill to navigate my way to that point.
So one of the things that actually brought me back to you online is you had this post about the trades. And you were talking about
the trades?
Yeah, like plumbing, HVAC, and blue collar.
Got you.
And I was like, oh man, I totally agree. And you were basically saying, I think, in so many words, like blue collar jobs are just as important and powerful as white collar jobs.
More important.
There you go. So I want to talk about this with you. Like, what do you think about university versus trade school? What do you think about blue collar versus white collar? What would you say to a lot of my audience is a lot of blue collar people who are working their way up? Like, give me your take.
I think, number one, you should do whatever it is that you're called to do. But I do think that sometimes we love to push people to what we think is the new trendy thing, right? Right now it's AI. Prior to that, it was like, just social media and the internet in general, right? Like you got to learn how to code and all of these different things. Sure. I do agree with that. But man, the more things change, the more they stay the same. You still gonna need somebody to come through this building and install the plumbing. You still gonna need somebody to come through this building and install the HVAC. This building is going to need, electricians, right? Like you're going to need those people with those skill sets. So I think what the future should look like is people who decide they want to go to trade school and then using some of this new technology to make their jobs easier. It's the next generation of millionaires and, tens of millionaires, maybe even billionaires are going to come from people who know how to merge the two worlds. It's funny. I was having a conversation with one of my guys about this, and they were like, "Why you always be telling people to go to trade school? Trade school. Those are the black jobs that Donald Trump was talking about." I'm like, those are the jobs that pay green. That's not a black job. Like,
No.
we are not in this room right now without anybody who understands how to do things with their hands. Like, every single piece of equipment in this room, the lighting, everything, the bathroom I used earlier was because of a blue collar worker. We can't exist without them. They make the world go around. So yeah, I do encourage, a lot of people to go to trade school, because everybody don't necessarily want to go to, a university and get a degree. And I don't have a problem with that either. Some people want to go to trade school and, do that for a couple of years and come home and start making money immediately. I got, friends and family members back home in South Carolina who've been, installing HVAC and, doing electrical work for 30 years. Ain't missed a meal, ain't missing no paycheck. They not complaining about, recessions, nothing. They are making their money. Lawn care services. Like, there is so many, blue collar jobs that people are making six figures on right now.
And you actually, from what I understand, you have an endowment, or you help with education as well in South Carolina.
Yeah,
right?
I have my mother went to South Carolina State University. I have an honorary degree from South Carolina State University. And I started this endowment fund called the Ford Family Scholarship. And salute to, a woman I call another mother of mine. Her name is Nicole Brevard. She was somebody who was instrumental in, me even, starting that scholarship fund at South Carolina State University. And it is for people who want to major in communications, of course, because I'm a media personality, English, because my mother's an English teacher, or anything in the mental health profession. And I'm working on something right now that I think is going to really benefit people as far as trade school is concerned, because I want to give people incentive, to go to trade school. And a lot of people can't afford trade school either. So it's like, let's help some of those brothers and sisters who want to, go to trade school as well. And I'm called right now to salute a young lady named Jordan. Jordan the Welder is her name on Instagram. The reason I'm saluting her is because she's like a Breakfast Club super listener. Like, she supports us in everything that we do. Like, I do the Black Effect Podcast Festival in Atlanta, every year. I think we're on our third or fourth year, and she always comes to it. But she's a welder, and I just find her fascinating because she lives a great life. She's married, right? And she's a welder, and she makes a great living. Like I said, she comes and supports us at everything that we do, and she's a welder. So it's like, we don't always have to, run to entertainment or athletics, to live a good life.
No, in fact, there's way more people that are plumbers making 100K than podcasters,
and
which is a
them.
crazy thing to think about.
Yes, and we need them.
Order of magnitude.
Listen, we need them. Like, I hate, man, that's why I always say treat the CEO the same way you treat the custodian.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, in a lot of ways, the custodian is more important or just as important. Could you work in a building that was disgusting?
No, absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you heard me. I was like, I heard a bit of noise back. Like,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you knew that the bathrooms in this building was disgusting, you might not ever come here ever again.
Yeah.
So that's why people like the custodians and stuff are important, because they make our lives so much easier. So we got to constantly find ways to make their lives easier as well.
it was so true. Like, one of my favorite people, I opened the book with him, is this guy, Wayne Huizinga. I'm really bummed that he died before I got to meet him. But he was
God bless the dead.
Yeah, he was a garbage man. That's how he
Wow.
started. He was a dropout from college. He went to the military. He became a garbage man, driving a truck. Then he figured out, well, maybe I could buy one truck and I could start my little route. And that route turned into waste management, which became a multi-billion-dollar business. And then Blockbuster, that he started and sold before it went sideways, and then owned a bunch of sports teams.
What?
Garbage dude. And so it's
Wow.
like, all around us, I think the problem, like the lie that we were told, is that you have to stay the garbage man when you start as the garbage man. It's like, yes, start cleaning the toilets. That's sick. But then how much easier is it to climb the ladder from the guy who did the cleaning to the next rung, to the next rung, to the next
That's
rung,
right.
if you're competent, and then
That's right.
own the motherfucker.
That's right.
I'm on board.
And by the way, even if you don't want to do that, that's cool too.
Yeah, that's true.
There's parking attendants that I look forward to seeing every day. Cause when I see them, they screaming my name. I scream their name.
yeah.
Like some of them might be singing songs. Like, you know, they might be talking to me about stuff that we was talking about on the air. Those are the people I like to talk to. What do we know? We've been doing.
I do a lot of this.
Yeah, like I like talking to working class people because I definitely, I still consider myself a working class person. I just do a different line of work. But I used to work at Taco Bell. I did telemarketing. I worked at a clothing store. Me and my now wife used to work at a clothing store in the mall when we was, teenagers. I did all of those things, but you really get to see what's going on in the world when you have conversations with working class people. They're the ones that can help you keep your boots on the ground.
Let's say we got one of them listening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they get to listen to you, and they've come to the end of this podcast, and you get to send them off. Like, what are you saying to the person who's on their climb, figuring it out? What would be the advice you would give them today? The thought that you would leave them with?
The first thing I would say to them is thank you. I am grateful that you decided to listen to the Codie Sanchez podcast with Charlamagne the God. Thank you. And thank you for, whatever it is that you're doing every day that makes our lives, better. And yeah, I would tell them, and the reason I'm saying thank you is because I would tell them, make sure that they have a attitude of gratitude as well. Because man, when you wake up every day and you are genuinely grateful for where you are, like you say, God, thank you, man. God, I'm so thankful and grateful to be, number one, just alive, but then number two, to be able to do what it is that I'm currently doing. You will constantly get blessed with more. I think that is what truly makes an individual happy, right? When you have true gratitude for where you are in life, at the moment. Like you can't wake up every day and hate what it is that you do. If you wake up every day and hate what it is that you do, please change what it is that you do. like you have to. Like you cannot wake up every day and hate what it is that you do because you're gonna project that negative energy onto everybody. Like don't be the garbage man with an attitude, right? Don't be the person working at the fast food restaurant with the attitude. And same goes for us. Like if I wake up every morning with a negative attitude, I'm gonna get on that radio and I'm gonna project that onto the people. And trust me, I've been that before. I've been in that space where I've been that before, and God had to remind me quick, I can take this away from you. You do know that, right? I can take this away from you in 2 seconds. So you asked for this. You prayed for this. This is what you wanted. This is what you worked hard towards. How dare you come up here every morning and project what you got going on, negatively to the people. That's one of the reasons I started going to therapy. And when I started going to therapy back in 2016, I would literally come on the radio and tell everybody that I'm going to therapy every Friday at 3:00. I started talking to the people about what it was I was dealing with because I owed that to them. They can't turn on the radio and hear me going off on somebody or hear me maybe badgering somebody in an interview. I'm like, damn, why is this person doing? Why is he coming like that? It might be entertaining to some. Some might be like, what is up with this dude? I started to go do the work on myself because I wasn't happy with what was going on with me internally. And so me coming on the radio and expressing that, to other people and tell people I'm going to therapy and trying to get a handle on my anxiety and bouts of depression and things like that, that became a whole movement of its own. And that just started with me being honest with my listeners and not wanting to take for granted the blessing that God had gave me because I know he could take it away from me in a heartbeat. And that was 2016. So that was 6 years in the Breakfast Club. We still here 9 years later. I continue to grow. I continue to evolve. So clearly, I did something right.
Last thing for you, like, what should people be following you on this year? I know you're working on a million things, but like, where should they be? Where are you like, I'm fucking excited. Tune into this, people.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Well, the Breakfast Club is coming to Netflix this year.
Yeah.
So,
That's
you'll
sick. So open up your TV.
Open up your TV. Yeah, like right now, if you can go to Netflix right now, type in Breakfast Club, and you'll see it pop up. I think they say the video podcast start on January 26th. So you can set your reminders for that. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people are having conversations about, Netflix, and they're saying Netflix is trying to compete with YouTube. I don't think Netflix is necessarily trying to compete with YouTube. I just think Netflix is doing what all of these, streaming platforms are doing. Let's bring on content that people want to watch, and let's just see if we can, get as many eyeballs over here and have them, spending their time and attention, with us. So I just think, it's dope for the podcasting game, right? To see where podcasting has grown and where it's evolved to where, a premium, network like Netflix, wants to have us on. And man, I just hope to do more of that. Like, I want to like sitting here talking to you, you have a hit podcast, but what else does Codie Sanchez want to do? Codie Sanchez might have a scripted show in mind based off her life or something. Codie Sanchez might want to do documentaries. Those are the things that I'm thinking about with all of these streaming platforms. Netflix has gotten the game in a real way. I think Apple should follow suit. I think Peacock should follow suit. I think Amazon should follow suit and just tap in with us, right? These new media personalities who, have a lot of different content and IP that we can bring to the table. So that's one thing, Breakfast Club on Netflix. I also have a book imprint called Black Privilege Publishing, and 2026 is going to be a huge year for us because we have Arsenio Hall's memoir.
Oh, I fucking love him.
Yeah, which comes out in April. He's been one of my entertainment inspirations forever. I have 4 huge entertainment inspirations. It's Jay-Z, Clarence Avant, a radio personality named Petey Green, God bless the dead, and Arsenio Hall. And so it's like a privilege to be publishing his memoir. So that comes out in March, I believe, but you can pre-order his book now. My man 2 Chainz, who you should actually have on this podcast because his business mind, he is, a very, very astute, businessman. Like one of my, business ventures, which is the Crystal franchises that me and my wife have in South Carolina. I got into him because of 2 Chainz. He
What
has
is a Crystal franchise?
Crystal is a burger spot.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so they serve like little sliders. Like, so they're like the down south White Castle.
Oh,
and so, he has a role at Crystal. And my man Lil Duval, I saw him one day, because Duval does this thing in his community called Duval Day. And I saw him with all these Crystal burgers. And I'm like, damn, I ain't see Crystal in a minute. Where you get Crystal from? And he was like, yo, 2 Chainz is, working with them now. So I reached out to Chainz and, my guy Technique, that's 2 Chainz partner. And they plugged me right in with my man, Jonathan Childs, who owns the Crystal franchises. So me and my wife ended up doing 6 of them. Salute to my guy Billy as well. And so we got 2 Chainz book coming out. The Voice in My Head is God. That comes out in April. My co-host Jess Hilarious, on the Breakfast Club, she has a book coming out called Tell Death Do We Parent. It's a co-parenting book. That comes out this year as well. And we have some other ones that we haven't announced yet, so I can't announce them. But those 3 we've already announced, so you can go pre-order those wherever you buy.
Let's do it.
Books
Because
now.
pre-orders are so important. It's like I don't think people realize, like, if you like one, if you like Arsenio, if they like you, if they like Jess, like the best thing, it's such a gift to do a pre-order because all the publishing nonsense you got to get through. So hopefully you guys go buy some of those books.
Pre-orders are important, but I think that they're I'm not gonna say they're a tad bit overrated. I think the publishing company puts a little too much emphasis on them.
Yeah.
Because people buy in the moment. People want to buy like
What
right
about
now.
to get New York Times? Like the shenanigans I had to go through to try to. I was like, don't buy now. Wait 3 seconds. Only from this spot. It's fucking crazy town.
Yeah.
It's my second book. I'm not doing any of that. No.
I care about selling books more than I care about the list. Because the list is all politics, you know that.
I can't believe they let me on there. I thought for sure, Main Street Millionaire title about boring businesses making money, like
that's
I'm
what people
a
want.
capitalist. Yeah, but they don't. I don't think.
I'll drive myself crazy worrying about stuff like that. Seriously, because you just don't. I don't know how it works. Like it's all politics with all of those lists. So I just want people to go out there and buy the books, learn something from the books. Most importantly, because all of those different books serve different purposes. Arsenio Hall's memoir is just for anybody who grew up on Arsenio and wants to see the ins and outs of Hollywood in the 90s and why he made the decisions that he made, because what he was doing was groundbreaking and revolutionary back then. So if you ever woof, 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 you're going to love that book. 2 Chainz is literally The Voice in My Head is God. So it's like a spiritual book that shows you, why he made the moves that he made, from child to, now as an adult. And, Jess' book is about co-parenting. It's literally about how her and her, her first baby's father, have had a healthy co-parenting relationship. So we got a lot of different books for a lot of different people.
Oh, I can't wait to read them.
Absolutely.
Charlamagne the God, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Cody.
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
We are sitting on a generational wealth creation event. If you're here, this means you're a builder. As we're going through these next 3 days, I want you to know that the American dream starts with you guys by our little Main Street revolution.
And then I just want to give you guys permission to take a leap of faith.
If I knew then what I know now, I would probably do bigger deals.
It's given us an extra layer of security that we never would have had.
I am so excited to introduce you to some ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
We have to really take the time to make a meaningful connection. It's the fact that there is a lack of connection and the person just wants to be seen, heard, and understood.
Thanks for taking the question.
Are there extra things that need to be done when trying to pay off bad debt?
Great question.
I buy businesses so simple, even your grandmother understands them. That's the game.
It's you and me versus the problem. We're going to try to solve this together.
I know how to build trust in a very advanced way.
How does buying a business fit into the vision for your life?
Today, my goal is to teach you some fundamental skills that you can use to accelerate your business.
If you make a promise in the mirror, know that your word is freaking iron to you.
These people on Wall Street, they want to keep the normal people out of the game.
Main Street millionaires are all around this world, and it starts with each and every one of you.
What are you waiting for? Your path to ownership starts now. Get your ticket to join us on Main Street. Join us today.